gossip, fuck around me with the chatting. Do right by my people, so them blessings I'm attracting. Niggas, they be sleep, let them snooze, watch me eat, ayy. Never post a comment, but DM me, you a beast, ayy. Cleveland, that's the city, and the 180 elite. Product of this jungle, I'm a lion off the leash, ayy. Tryna steal the sauce, you just me, on repeat. Claiming that you made me, then gon' show me some receipts. Ball, bitch, I ball like athletes. What you doing now, what you did is obsolete, ayy. Well-rounded with it, your hustle is incomplete. I can get it corporate or go get it out the street. Yo. Happy Sunday, cuzzos. It's your boy, the biggest. And I'm here as promised. It is finally week 4, where I personally feel comfortable giving y'all NFL data. I told y'all first couple weeks, I was more so just looking for line discrepancies, just having fun with it. So it avoided me from blowing my bankroll till we had enough data without looking at last year's data, right? So now that we at week 4, I got 3 full weeks of data, which to me in football is enough to get at least some decent reads. I tell y'all all the time, you may have had games where a mediocre player might have had an out-of-body game, meaning a great game because he went against a certain team or just had a great week, and vice versa. Maybe a good player then had a bad game or two. So for me, I try to get enough data to where I can get some averages. So it'll weigh out those outlier performances and those underperformers, right? So if I can get a couple weeks, the average will basically be more around what they really doing versus me going off of week 1 and then a person had a crazy game and it looked like they can do that in week 2 and they don't, right? And the beautiful thing is now we at the threshold of 3 weeks we can start from here, and the more weeks, the more accurate the data will be, because the more weeks that we get, the better and more tight the average is going to get. So it'll be more accurate. So without that being said, I want to let y'all know something right now. The OGs who've been around for more than a year, they know about this. The newbies, y'all may have been around since Prop Finder only. So for this specific video today, when I'm on live stream, we will do the Prop Finder. But I'm about to take it back to the OG for this stream specifically. Well, for this video, I'm not live. For this video specifically, to the OG. The ones, like I said, who've been around long enough know exactly where I'm going. Doink Sports. Now, this is no different. You can find this same data on Prop Finder. All of the sites generally have kind of the same thing. I'm going to tell you why personally I'm using this for this video. For one, I know this site like the back of my hand. I'm learning like the rest. So especially when it comes to the new sport, when I'm off stream, I'm day to day, I'm still learning and trying to not figure out, because again, I help put the stuff together that's on Prop Finder for football, but I'm still learning it, trying to figure out my niche and figure out how it's going to, work out for me, blasey, right? Doink, I know like the back of my hand. Then another reason why is you have to know for yourself. This is a question you have to ask yourself. What kind of learner are you? Now, what I mean by that is, for me, not only am I a visual learner, I'm a person where, and I've spoke on this last football season in NBA for the ones who are newer. Now, you know how every sport got ranks, right? Like, let's say, for instance, football, 32 teams. So you're going to have teams that's ranked 1, meaning that they're good in that, whether that be offense or defense. And then you're going to have teams that's ranked 32nd, which means they're the worst in that. Or if it's a defensive 32nd, they allow the most, right? You have people who like that. For me personally, I am a number person. Now, what that means is I'm going to show you here. So it's 2 things that I'm going to look at in these games for y'all. We're going to go to the player props tab, and we're going to go to touchdowns, and I'll show you the difference in this newer version. Now, let's say, for instance, this game right here with Flacco, right? I already got it on 2025. Now, you can see, y'all, we got 3 games of data. Now, look here for the ones who've never been on Doink. The ones who they know exactly where I'm going with this. Now, look at these numbers, right? These numbers are the average that say Flacco. This is his averages based on these numbers that he had each individual week. So pass attempts, he had 45 week 1, 45 week 2, 36 week 3, which means he has an average of 42 pass attempts per game. Now, what does that mean and why I like this style?
I don't on another site that might say Joe Flacco has the third ranked pass attempts, which is fine because it'll tell you like, okay, he's one of the top in pass attempts. For me, when I'm looking at player props and I'm taking specific numbers on player props, I like seeing the number, not the rank. Tell me what the exact number is because it'll help me play certain numbers when I play player props, if that makes sense. By all means, if anything I'm saying don't make sense or you need more help with it, you can always comment in the on YouTube in the comments. You can DM me, whatever. So instead of this saying, maybe it's easier if I do it from the defensive side. Now look at this. Pass long, meaning the longest pass they allowed. They allowed whoever this is, Jordan Love, a 48-yarder week 1. They allowed Caleb Williams a 37-yarder week 2. They allowed Lamar Jackson a 37-yarder, a yard pass, right? So this is the individual passes, the longest pass they allowed in those games, which brings the average to a 41. Let's just round this to 41. Now, like I said, on another site, that might say Detroit defense is ranked 28th in pass long to quarterbacks. Okay, cool. You telling me that they're one of the top teams? Well, that would be one of the bottom. So they allow a lot of pass long. Cool. But I like to see the number because now I can manipulate something. If you look under, these is their lines. So you're telling me that Flacco's pass long today is 33 and a half, right? At plus 108 on Caesar. You can always click these and you can see like all the odds. So you're saying 33.5. Now, if you telling me when I look at that line, if you say that the Lions is ranked 28th in pass long, that still don't kind of tell me what number I should be looking around, right? I know his line is 33 and a half. You telling me that Detroit give up a high pass long, but what's the actual number? So I know if I want to play the line, if I want to take the alt line a little less, do I want to take the alt line a little more? You get what I'm going with that? That's the type of learner I am. That works better for me. I always tell y'all, figure out your strengths and your weaknesses. For me, that works better when I can see a number. Another thing about doing, if you've never been on here, is the brighter the green, the better. Now, how do they determine the brighter the green? Based on the line. It has nothing to do with nothing else. Let's say, for instance, pass attempts. His line is 37 and a half. They're giving up 26. So the system automatically knows that since the average allowed is lower than Flacco's line today, it's going to be red. Now, look at this. Pass yards. Flacco's line is 223 and a half passing yards. They're giving up 227. Now, that's more than his line. That's why it's green. But you see how it's only 4 yards more? That's why it's green. Now, the brighter the green, the further away it is from the line. His pass long is 33 and a half. They're giving up 41. So when you see the brighter green, for me, in all sports, since I've been doing this, the brighter the green, those are the ones I really like because that means I can take the alt line higher for better odds. Y'all know I'm super big on value. It'll make more sense when we see like props that you could take an alt line on. I don't think you could take an alt line on pass long. So with that being said, I'm just giving y'all the background of why I'm using that. Like I said, the OGs who've been around know why. So I'm thinking on Sundays with me knowing it's like the back of my hand until I can get prop in the back of my hand far as football, I'll just use this because I can run through this faster for y'all and try to get through the slate in a quicker video. So with that being said, again, we can look at certain stuff like this. And for me, I always look for bright green. Now, like, look at this right here. Here's a good one, for instance. Again, okay, one more thing I want to let y'all know. It's really hard to have identified it in baseball because baseball, I am looking at the offensive player. Anybody who's been around me long enough know one thing about Banner is I do not care, never have, about offensive stats. I base everything I do in every sport on defensive weaknesses. Baseball is different because in order for home runs, we do need to identify hard-hitting batters, fly ball hitting batters, things of that nature, right? Football and basketball and hockey is a little different. All I care about is the defensive weakness. I've never been a trend better, meaning What if the person did his last 5, his last 10? I'm a value better. When you look at trends with last 5 and last 10, what you see, the book see, and it's already incorporated in the line. So if you've seen a person threw for 200 yards 5 games in a row, you best believe that his 200 yards on the books is going to be like minus 300. The books know that, like you know that. I never bet for trend. I don't look at what they've done. I look at what they can potentially do based on defensive weaknesses. All I'm hunting is spots on teams where they give up way more than a person's line. I can't tell you how many times in every sport, especially like basketball and football, where I catch people to do something that they haven't done either that year or ever because I don't look at the offensive side. I used to tell people all the time, you see this left side where the offensive players are at over here? My right-handed guy, you can eliminate that side. If it was a way to eliminate that whole side, I would. I never look at it. That don't, because again, what they're doing is already incorporated in the lines. I'm always trying to find alt lines with high odds. I'm looking for value spots. So I like to target defensive spots that have weaknesses, that give up a lot of something. And again, it'll make sense as we go along in this video. Now, for instance, the reason I brought that up is because I got a perfect one right here. Look at this. Quarterback ones versus Detroit defense. Look at how many passing touchdowns Detroit has given up to quarterbacks. 2 week 1, 2 week 2, 3 last week, which brings them to an average of 2.3, right? If you are a person who looked at the offensive player side, look at Flacco. 1 touchdown week 1, 1 touchdown week 2, 0 touchdowns week 3. So his line at 1.5 would be something that you probably would stay away from, because if his line is 2 and you're looking at it like, well, damn, he ain't got 2 yet. See what I mean? A person who look at trends is going to avoid that. For me, and it's at plus 210 on, I think this is Hard Rock, right? I like this line. I like this line a lot. Not because I notice he ain't did it. I don't care he hasn't did it. What I do notice is this specific defense has given up 2 touchdowns every week at minimum, which brings their average to 2 a game. So seeing that the defense allows it, right, that they're allowing 2.3 a game to the quarterback, I don't care that Flacco ain't did it yet. You're still a professional, and at some point this season, you're going to do it. What better time to target it than against a defense that allows it, if that make any sense? That's the type of gambler I am and have always been. I gamble for projection. I'm looking at what you could possibly do based on weaker defenses allowing it a lot. That's why I'm big on waiting until week 4 to get some averages. That's why I was telling y'all that. So that's the perfect example for that. I like his Flacco's over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Not because looking at him, I noticed that this defense then gave up 2 every week. Last week they gave up 3, but at minimum, they've given up 2 every week. So to set Flacco line at 210, I like that line a lot. I can take that with one more plus 210, plus 250-ish, and I got a plus 1,000 on 2 legs without having to run up a CVS receipt, right? So we move along. Judson, again, I don't pay attention over here. You can, and I can tell you what some of this stuff means. So touchdowns, that's self-explanatory. Rush share, what it means is in a game, how many times is he getting the ball? So let's say like week 3. Out of 100%, 95% of that he had, right? 95% of the running plays was Judkins running. And the other 5%, I don't even know where it came from because it say Jerome Ford, he had a 0%. So the rush share is how often are they running it? So 9.5. So let's just say 9.5 times. If they ran the ball 10 times, 9 of them was Judkins running it, right? Out of those 10 running plays, Judkins had 9 of them. That's good to know when you're looking at people that you may want to take for rushing yards. You want to take people who have high rush shares. You want to take receivers who get a lot of targets, right? When you're looking at like touchdowns, you want to find these people that get a lot of red zone targets or red zone rush shares. That just means basically use it as like usage. How many snaps of a running play do this running back actually get the ball? Or do they swap out to another running back? Y'all know they good for that. They keep 2 or 3 running backs, like who getting the most rushing shares, right? So that's what that is. You got rush attempts, rush yards, rush long, meaning his longest rushing play in that entire game, right? Rush red zone share. So if you look on his last game, he had 100%. That's good to know. So every running play that was in the red zone that they ran, he had every one of them. Rushing red zone attempts per game. Well, not per game, I'm sorry. He had 4 last game, which bring him, since he ain't have none the first 2 games, that bring him to an average of 1 per game. Receiving targets. So he got the ball thrown to him twice last week, 3 the week before. You can see his receiving yards, receiving long, and then rush plus receptions. Rush plus receiving yards. You can see all of these things, right? You can also see it on the defense. So remember what I told you. The thing I'm looking at when I'm identifying this for me is I'm looking at the defensive side and I'm looking for green spots. So the first thing I notice is they've given up a touchdown to the running back every game. Judkins' touchdown is plus 182. I like that. I don't care that you got one out of the last 3 weeks. And the good thing is that one was last week, meaning that, you know what I'm saying, as the weeks are going, he's getting more. You can see from his rush shares. It went from none to 45% to 95%. So his usage is going up as the week's going, right? And you can see when he got a high usage, he actually scored. But at the end of the day, his touchdown is plus 182. That's good to me because I see that they've given up a touchdown every game. They're averaging a full touchdown to the running backs. Again, rushing yards. They're giving up 60 rushing yards a game. Again, that's just better for me than saying Detroit is allowing they're ranked 29th in rushing yards to the running back 1. You know what I'm saying? For me, if I see a number, it make it easier when I know they line. They're giving up 60. His line is 59. Again, when he get actual rush share, week 2, he had 61 yards. Last week, when he got the bulk with 18 carries, he had 94 yards. But if you don't want to do those, aim for the bright spots. Look at this. His rush long is 23. His shit bright green on his side. Why is it like that? His rush long is only 15 yards today, right? At minus 105 on DraftKings. He's averaging 23. So it's bright green on his side, but more importantly, it's bright green on his side. His line is 15. They haven't given up less than a 15-yard run to no running back yet, which brings their average to 21. So that's something that's catching my attention. Judkins, either the touchdown at 182 or the 15-yard longest rush for the game, which we can see they're allowing 21 yards longest rush on average, with none of the games being under 15 at all. Not one game they've given up less than a 15-yard rush to the running back, right? So these are the things you want to identify. If you like unders, do it the opposite way. Remember, red mean that it's under the line, but it's close. Bright red mean it's way under the line. Like, look at this, receiving yards. They're giving up 6. That's way lower than 11. That's why this red is way brighter than this red. So if you are under person, do it the opposite way. Look at it the opposite way. So treat that as such. All right. So again, you can see Judkins from looking at the defensive side. He got a couple spots that you might want to identify. His anytime touchdown, his rush long, this 15-yard longest rush in the game. If you're not afraid of just green, you could take his rushing yards. They're allowing 60. His line is 59. But if that little 1 yard is too close for you, which I generally try to just find bright greens. Personally, I like that little space in between. I know the brighter the green, the bigger the difference. Right? So, just showing you how I'm looking at this board. Again, and that's just my way. You know, I always tell y'all there's no right way, there's no wrong way. My brother actually uses Doink, right? And I'll give you a different example of a different approach. Not only do he look at both sides, and he only take players where that same column is green on both sides. Nothing's wrong with that, because my brother only care about their line. So if he see, like, say this line is 3 for 3 receptions for Jerome Ford, right? 3 receptions. Green over here, meaning that it's the average is higher than the line. If this would have been 3 for the defense allowed. It would have been like green over here, green over here. He would have took it. I'm the opposite way. I don't care about the offensive side. I look at this side. So for instance, they're allowing on average 18 yards receiving to the running back 2, which is Jerome Ford. That's what I look at. Now, you can look at this and you can click it and you can see the alt lines here. So for me, let me see, like 15. Let's say 15, right? 15 receiving yards for Jerome Ford. I'm looking at where can I get it at plus money, plus 127. If I go there, he's still averaging. Again, I'm looking at 15 because it was plus money. They're still giving up 18. If you want to be a little bit more technical, if you want, you can filter targets. But again, I won't go too deep into that. I want this to be a quicker process. But for the ones who newer and don't know what I'm looking at on here, because throughout the week, I'll be going, again, I'm still making myself understand, and I'll be looking at it from, we'll be on Prop Finder. But this is easier for me this first time because I know this like the back of my hand, right? So, again, for me, my eyes only see bright green. So I'm looking at something like this. Jerry Jeudy, right? I don't care about nothing over here. Even though I see you got some good yards, I don't care about that. What caught my attention was this. I see 2 bright green spots right there. Stop. That's how my mind works. Stop right there. They're giving up 70 yards receiving to the wide receiver 1. His line is only 50.5. So if I'm looking in here, that 50.5 I like, but I'm pushing the limit. If they're giving up 70, I'm trying to see what 70 is. You can get 70 at plus 230. Right? Again, for me, I'm trying to find value because it helps me not put a lot of legs on a parlay. Give me the plus 1,000 minimum and I'm good. So when I get a couple plus 230s, 2 of those is a plus 1,000. Now I don't have to make a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leg. Right? If you want to play it safer, his line definitely got to be one of them things you looked at for sure. If they giving up 70 and his line is 50, then I'm already looking at your line. But for me, I'm looking at that value spot. So seeing that bright green, I'm always trying to look at your alt lines since I have the wiggle room. We already know that the brighter the green, the bigger the difference is. That means they're giving up way more than what that specific player line is. So I'm trying to see in that little difference area where I can get some value out of there and get into that plus money range. So that's something that I'm looking at. They're giving up a lot of receiving yards to they're giving up 70 receiving yards to the wide receiver 1. That works better for me than saying they give up the 4th most yards to wide receiver 1, which is fine. You're still telling me they give up a lot, but for me, if you can give me a number, I got way more ways to manipulate what I want to play because I can see an actual number, so I know if I don't want to go over that number or I don't want to go, you know what I'm saying? I can see that. So that's something I do like in this game. And again, all I'm doing is scroll until I see these bright greens. They're giving up. So who is this? So to whoever Isaiah Bond is, right? His line is 15 receiving yards. They're giving up 38 receiving yards. They're giving up 17 receiving long. So their longest reception they're giving up on average is 17 yards. His longest he need today, his line is 10.5. So I'm identifying bright green spots. So Isaiah Bond, receiving yards, receiving long. I like those. That don't mean I don't like this for the ones who may ask that because it's green. I'm just identifying bright green spots where we got some kind of wiggle room to be able to manipulate it, right? They're giving up a damn near 3 times his line in receiving yards to that wide receiver 3 spot, which is Isaiah Bond. Tight end 1. Here's another one I can identify. Look at this. 1 touchdown for Njoku is plus 400. You can see that on both sides. Why is that? He don't got a touchdown this season, but on average, they're giving up a whole touchdown to tight ends. 1 touchdown in week 1, 2 last week, which means they got 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks. So they got an average of 1 touchdown per. That is something to me worth taking or at least sprinkling on, right? Like they're giving up a whole touchdown and I know he don't have one, but what better time to get one than against a team that y'all scouts can identify give up a lot of touchdowns to tight ends. So a plus 400 on no vig for Njoku anytime touchdown, I like that prop. I like that a lot. Also, look at this receiving long. They're giving up 21 longest receptions on average. His line is 15.5. Now, this is the way that my brother look at it. Remember what I said my brother look at? Just at their lines, no alts. 38.5 receiving yards, 15.5. My brother like both of these. And I'm going to tell you why. Green on the defensive side for both of those. Green on Njoku side. So he kind of like play it safer. He like it when the player average that amount and the defense allow that amount. And again, ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. He don't even need a bright green. If he can see the same prop on the defensive and the offensive side as green, meaning the player average that number and the defense allow that number, those are the places that my brother, I'm about to say my son, he is like my son though, my brother target. So keep that in mind. It's no wrong or right way, but I like to find value spots. Nothing for whoever this is, so don't worry about that. Now we move over to what's the splits? Okay. Now we move over to, and the crazy thing is, look at this. They actually do got that ranking thing for you. So that's something new that they added. Quarterback ones, they actually do got ranks now. That's something they've added if you do like ranks. So I guess if you do like ranks, you can still look at it from here. But for me, show me these numbers and we good to go. All right. So, again, we just go till we see something that looks bright green that stands out. That means that we can find us a good spot with wiggle room. See, like stuff like this. Like, look at this. Another reason why, like David Montgomery. This is one of them. How do you play this? Remember, bright green meaning the average is way over. So he's averaging way over his lines today, right? But then if you come to the defensive side, they're not allowing nearly as much. Like, that's one of them things, like, how do you play that? That's why, for me, it's more so like, so this is telling me that basically, at least versus running back twos, they have a little bit more strength. Shit, even versus running back ones, they're giving up 32 rushing yards a game. And his line is 63. But I do know that as far as the Browns, that they do have a good rush defense. So, again, do that mean that those running backs can't get their lines? No, that don't mean that at all. But for me, I want to target the weaker defenses. Make my job easier, or at least a little easier. Give me the spots where the defense is allowing a lot of shit. Here we go. You'll find some eventually. Caleb Raymond, right? Receiving yards. His line is only 8.5. He's averaging 11 if you care about that side. But for me, I don't. What I notice is they're giving up 26 receiving yards to the wide receiver 3. His line is only 9. So seeing that y'all giving up 26 yards, I love this 9. But more importantly, if I click it, I'm up in here trying to see what they giving up. 26? Shit, 20 yards receiving. It's plus 240. If you're not a value style better or this style of better, that won't be appealing to you if you're a trend better. Because the first thing you're going to say is, when I say 20, you're going to come over here and say, well, he haven't had 20 all year. You're absolutely correct. But I always say, when you look at trends, the one thing about looking at trends, you put yourself in a box, right? You keep yourself in a box. And you'll never be able to find people that could potentially go over because they've never done it. If you're looking at their trends, you'll never go outside of that box and take a person to go further than what they've always done. So you'll never be able to catch that out-of-body game that they'll eventually have when they take advantage of a weak defense, because you'll always limit yourself to what they've done, and you'll never go over the most they've ever done. So me looking at 20 at plus 240, I love this line. I'm at 20 and I'm still got 6 yards to spare. I'm still under the 26 average. A trend person, which is not a bad way of looking at it, again, they're not going to take that 20 because they're going to say the most yards he's had is 16. He's never gotten 20. You hear it all the time. He's never gotten 20. So they won't even entertain this. For me, I look at the defensive weakness, seeing that they're giving up 26. Shit. Matter of fact, is it a 25 in this motherfucker? It is. 25. I'm still under the 26, and that's at 340. That's the type of way I gamble. I'm gambling for stuff like that, for the potential of what you can do exploiting bad defenses. And that's how you get value spots. That's how you find value spots, again, for many reasons, but more importantly for me, it's a psyche to myself that keep me away from making big leg parlays, a lot of legs on there. So I'm noticing that. I don't go off of the names. A lot of people may say like, St. Brown. They looking at, he a baller. Don't get it twisted. He a dog. I'm seeing that Denzel Ward, and I'm just saying the name because I know my team. I know Denzel Ward is our number one cornerback who's checking wide receiver ones. Looking at this, he putting shit in cages, right? So far this season, he ain't watching that shit. He's keeping those to a minimum outside of this week 2, but he's did so much better the weeks around it that the averages are lower. So I don't go off names. All I do is strictly go off what is happening, what the data is telling me. So hold on, where was we at? So from looking at this, I do like that. But again, the Browns have great defense. So am I surprised that I'm not seeing a lot on Detroit side? No, I'm not. So Khalif Raymond is the first thing that I seen that caught my attention. It's still on the alt line. His line was 8.5. Again, I'm looking at these bright green spots. And I'm gonna scroll till I find them. That's how much easier I make it. Now, another thing that I'm looking at is touchdowns. If you want to look at the touchdowns. I'm gonna probably not go through this because I can see that this will take longer. But you could basically just look at this and it'll tell you where they giving up the defense at. Where they giving up defense at. Now, where they giving up the defense at. So you could just see basically where they ranked at. You could turn this depth thing on. So fuck all. Look at the positions. So you can say Detroit against. This is strictly touchdowns. So rushing touchdowns. They got the best defense first against rushing touchdowns. They haven't given up not a single touchdown to a quarterback. You can see that remember it's 32 teams. So they third ranked against running back ones. They've given up 1 per game. That's per game. Totals will be 3, but per game, you're giving up 1. Remember, we've seen that already. So again, you know what? I don't have to come here. We already seen when we looked at Judkins that they give up an average of 1 touchdown a game to the running back 1. Right? So I don't have to look at this. I can see it all from player props. Okay, cool. All right. Moving along. Why is it starting from the bottom of the page? And I got to get them to move this back to the top. Okay. So Titans, Texans. Again, we just exploiting defenses that's giving up a lot of something. Out the gate, I can see a bright green. And that's for Cam Ward passing yards. They're on average, they're giving up 228. His line is 187. If you look here, green all 3 weeks. It's not a quarterback in these 3 weeks that haven't gotten 188 passing yards. Not one. Average 227. If you want to come in here, you can come over here and look. What we say, 227. So I'm trying to push it to the limit, 227. That might be like a 225. Look at 225, y'all. Plus 225. I'm going to stay in this range. I'm always looking for this. So Cam Ward, 225 yards is plus 225. But again, I'll just look at their line. That'll make it easier. What was his line? 187. So I love this line. I love his line. Do I care that he's only averaging 169? No, I do not. And again, if you do look at over here on the left, shit, we know that he done got to this 187 once, which was last week. We see that. They're giving up a lot of pass attempts, a lot of pass completions, and they're giving up 227 yards passing from a quarterback, which is bright green compared to his line. That is all right with me at 187. So I like Cam Ward passing yards today. Who is this? Tony Pollard. I see a bright green spot. They're giving up 18 receiving yards to his position, to the wide receiver 1. His line is only 12. Shit, he's got that 12 twice. His average 14. Hell, he averaging 14 receiving yards. They giving up 18. I love that 11.5. Right? So you can see how I'm identifying these spots. All I'm looking for is spots where the defense has a weakness. This might be a sneaky spot. I don't know. Let me see what his rush share is in the red zone. Okay, so look at this. I don't know who Julius Chestnut is, right? They've given up 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks to the running back 2. He has 0. But one thing I do notice that he has red zone rush share, meaning that when they close to the end zone, he actually get plays. He had 40% week 1, which was 2 attempts. Last week he had 17, which was 1. So seeing that he do get some rush shares, they're giving up 0.7, which is damn near 2 out of the last 3 they scored. To me, as a value better, this plus 1,000 might not be bad to sprinkle on, right? For him to get his first touchdown against a team that give up touchdowns to that spot. That's how I look at this. So here we go. Another one, bright green. Calvin Ridley. His line is 45 and a half. They're giving up 55 yards rushing, which is 10 yards more than his line, 9 yards, which is why it's bright green. If you care about it on the left side, shit, he's gotten 50 yards one time. So his line at 45 and a half, I like that. Anywhere where I can get some wiggle room where they're allowing more than that spot. Another thing that you can do, again, pay attention to this. Receiving targets, 8, 6, 7, which brings his average to 7. You can come to the defensive side and say, okay, I only want to see people with more than 6 targets since he averaging 7 targets a game. He never had less than 6 targets in a game this season. So don't show me don't show me nobody with less than 6 targets. Now, look at this. It eliminated that third week because that receiver only had 3 targets. So out of the 2 weeks that the wide receiver 1 had 6 or more targets, now look at this. Now the average done went up to 80 yards receiving. And the receptions done even turn bright green. His line is 3.5 receptions. They're giving up 7 receptions to wide receiver 1s this season that get targeted 6 times minimum. Remember, anything over 6 targets, which is the 2 times that they have an 11 target, which was this him, Puka, and Amika. These some crazy ass names, right? So, both of these people who had over 6 targets, on average was 7 receptions. So if you want to look, his line is 3.5 receptions. I love that. They're giving up 7 receptions to any wide receiver 1 who's been targeted over 6 times in a game. But let's look a little further than that. Look what 7 targets is, y'all. 7 receptions is for him. 7 receptions for Calvin Ridley today is plus 585. 6 plus 325. 5 plus 171 on no vig. So 5 targets, you in plus money. His line is 4. So 4 definitely is like a go, seeing that they're giving up so many targets. So many receptions to high targeted wide receiver 1s. Right? That's all I'm identifying. Same thing with the receiving yards. His line is 46. If you want to go a little deeper, you can come in here and get to looking at 50 plus money, 60, 176, 70 is plus 270. What they giving up? 80. You can push the limit to 80 plus 425. This is how I find value spots. Again, just identifying weak defenses. Here's another one. Alik Ayomaner. Man, what the fuck? Again, what's the first thing I'm noticing? I see bright green over here. His line is 30 receiving yards, right? They have given up more than 30 every game, which brings their average to 47 a game to the wide receiver 2, that slot receiver. The funny thing is, if you look at his side, hell, he averaged more than 30. He averaging more than 30 yards receiving. So he averaged more than 30, and they're giving up way more than 30. Again, so 30 is a safe place. If you want to get like I am, and I'm looking, I see bright green. So I'm going to get to looking at your alt lines and seeing what 40 is, 45 is, since I see they give up 47. But the 30, we're going to just look at the lines. The 30 to me is good money. Not only do they give up well over 30, if you do care about that and you want to take my brother approach, they give up more than 30. He averaged more than 30. So that 30 seemed like a safe place. He averaging that, and he's going against a team that gives up way more than that to that wide receiver 2 spot. All right, look, damn, is this defense ass? All 3 receiving spots, y'all, was bright green. That's something to note. And I'm about to go look at something. I bet you they one of the worst ranked. Look at this. Let's see. Splits. I want to see something. I'm going to go look. Again, okay, so 30 yards receiving. His line is 14, y'all. He averaged more than 14. He averaged 15. They're giving up 30. His line is 14. Tyler Lockett in that wide receiver 3 spot. So it's looking like Houston defense is dirt. All 3 wide receiver spots, 1, 2, and 3, y'all, was allowing way over what the player line was today. That's something to note. And let me see something. Splits. All wide receivers, 2025. I knew it. Look, I wanted to see what they ranked out of 32 teams to receiving yards to receivers. All wide receivers, 164 yards receiving, which makes them, if it's 32 teams and they 27th, they give up the 5th most receiving yards to wide receivers. If you want to go deeper and just look at him, wide receiver 3, you can see that they 24th ranked. They still at the bottom. That's why it's green. The brighter the green, the worse. Receiving receptions, 28 out of 32 teams. So they give up the 4th most receptions this year to the wide receiver 3 spot. Lock it. Keep that in mind. But all wide receivers, they're giving up the 5th most receiving yards. And I knew it. I only wanted to see that because I'm like, hold on. Every receiver on this damn team we just noticed was well over their line today. And lo and behold, they give up the 5th most receiving yards to wide receivers. All right, so let's see if we can find any more bright green spots again. Bright. Damn, here we go. Nick Chubb. Every time I see Nick Chubb, I get sick that the Browns gave him up. So, Nick Chubb. Y'all, this shit can get real. Rush attempts, bright green. His line is 14. They giving up 17. He got a good rush share, so you see he get the ball a lot. He do get the ball a lot. Rushing yards. His line is 49. They're giving up 77 yards rushing. 77 yards rushing to the running back 1. His line is 49. Not a single running back hasn't hit 60, let alone 49. Not a single running back has not hit 49 yards rushing against Tennessee defense from the RB1 spot. If you want to go a little deeper, you click on that 48, push it to the limit. 60 is, let's see, 70 yards rushing today is 271. Plus 271. They giving up 75. Shit, 75 is plus 310 on Fanatics. So you see what I'm looking at and how I'm going about that. But let's just go back to, again, just his line alone. His line is 48 and a half. Look at all of this bright green. They're giving up, like I said, fuck the 49. It ain't a running back who ain't got 60 yards rushing this season yet. 63, 66, 102. You can see you can filter running back. So look, if you look at his rush attempts, y'all, right? 13, 12, 9. Fuck the individuals. What's the average? You're averaging 11 attempts per game, right? Come here, filter rush attempts. Let's say more than 10. We know his line 11, so more than 10 rush attempts. That's all 3. Anybody that was over 10, it's all 3 weeks, and you can see again that they going crazy. Going crazy. Receiving yards. His line is 5.5. He averaging 10 because he had a 29 one. They're giving up 12 yards receiving. So they're giving up 12 yards receiving. So not only is his rush attempts bright green, that look good at 14 rush attempts on BetMGM at plus money. His rushing yards look good at 49. His rush long is plus money on DraftKings. So his line is to get a 13-yard rush at one point in this game. Their long is 27. Now one has gotten under that 13, and his rush long is 15. He got a 13 and a 25, right? So look at that. Another thing is they're giving up a full touchdown. 3 last week, 1 in week 1. So they're giving up 1.3 touchdowns to the running back. He has 1 in week 2. The bigger thing is for me, look at his rush red zone share. He averaging 30% rush share in the red zone. Rush attempts in week 2, he had 2 of them. Right? So what that's telling me is you do get you get attempts. You can also see from their end what they allow. They allow 60% rush attempts, rush share in the red zone with 3 rush attempts in the red zone. So it's looking like in the red zone, they're super weak. I mean, even all game, all you see is bright green. They're just weak against the running back 1, but they also are in the red zone. They're also allowing that. So him at plus money for anytime touchdown, that look good to me. Scroll over here, look at this, y'all. His rush plus receiving is 59 yards. They're giving up 89 yards rush plus receiving. His line 59, again, not one running back has not hit that line this year so far, the running back 1 spot. He done hit it 2 out of the 3 weeks. Just this last week, he didn't. Right? So this could be a big game for Nick Chubb from what we're looking at. This can be a big game for Nick Chubb based on these first 3 weeks of what Tennessee defense is allowing. Same thing, look, for the running back 2. The running back 2 is the same way. They're giving up 40 yards rushing. His line is 28.5. So that looks like a safe place to be at. Last week he was right under it at 27 on the 29. But again, I'm just identifying spots that you might want to identify. Nico, he's at plus money. He's averaging 0.7, so you can round it up to damn near say 1. 2 out of 3, he got a touchdown. The last 2 out of 3, they've given up a touchdown to the wide receiver 1. So, and you get Nico at plus 130. This is a plus money touchdown as well. Keep that in mind when y'all looking at your anytime touchdowns. Do this defense give up a lot of that to that position? You can look at their red zone, reception red zone targets. He averaging a reception in the red zone. They giving up a little less than a reception in the red zone. So they more so giving up the long touchdown to this spot. Christian Kirk. He's only played 1 game last week. I don't know if he just got back, but what I do know is he might be in for a decent game. I don't know if he's on a count. Well, no, he had 8 receiving targets. But look at this for Christian Kirk. 3.5 line for the receiving targets. But more importantly, I'm looking at Bright Green's receiving yards. His line is 40. 40 receiving yards. They're giving up 79 receiving yards to the slot receiver. Not one has gotten less than 60 yards receiving. And his line is only 40. So you do with that what you want. Again, I'm just here to research and try to show y'all the best spots I'm looking at based on what the defense allow. Xavier Hutchinson. Now, if you look at his receiving line, receptions, 2. His line is 2. He's averaging 2. They're giving up 2. So again, based on the way my brother look at the board, he's going to take this 2 receptions at plus 120 at minus 122 because they're allowing that, and also this receiver is averaging that. So same with receiving yards. All I care about is the bright green spot. So his line is 15.5. They're giving up 29 receiving yards to the slot receiver. His line is 16. He hasn't had less than 16 yards in a game yet this season. He's averaging 25 yards receiving. So for him to have a 15.5 line, he's averaging 25 yards receiving. They're allowing 29 yards. So that 15.5 looked like a good line to take, seeing that both sides, he's getting that, they're allowing that. So keep that in mind for Xavier Hutchinson for his receiving yards today. All right, again, you're going to find spots that's green and green. That's fine. That's, I've talked about that in the past. I'm targeting bright green. I just want to, because I like that wiggle room. If it's bright green, I know it's a difference in between the line and what they're allowing. Give myself some wiggle room if I want to take the alt line, or even if I want to take the line and just don't want to make it like too risky. You know what I'm saying? His line is 50 and they're allowing 50. It's like, oh, damn, like it's right on the line. So I like looking at those bright green spots because I know I got some room in between, right? So moving along to Commanders Falcons, and Mariota coming out today. Okay, I'm not really, if you look here, Falcons defense, they've been pretty good based on his line, which is 201.5. They're allowing 149. Not one quarterback so far has hit that 202. That Mariota line today yet in the first 3 weeks. That's why you see all 3 red. They all under what the person today line is. Okay, first stop. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. What the fuck all them names? The first thing I do, and you can do rush attempts. I don't know if y'all play those. I know a lot of people want to parlay, so they looking at like rush yards, pass yards, rush plus receiving, shit like that. Me personally, I play straight, so I don't give a damn. So like, I don't know if you could parlay rush attempts, but I wouldn't care neither. I see that his line is 7.5 at plus money on no vig, and I see that they giving up 13 rush attempts, and I see that he's hitting that 8 2 of these 3 weeks, right? So for me, I don't care about being able to parlay rush attempts into a parlay. I will play that straight since I'm getting it at plus money. But for the things that I know y'all do like that you can parlay, rush yards. His line is 30.5. He's averaging 42 yards rushing in these first 3 weeks on the season. They're giving up 46. So 31 yards rushing seem like a safe place. He averaging well over that. They allow well over that. So that looked like a spot that I like, that Ja'Cory rushing yards today at 30 and a half, and it's at plus money. And he averages that, and they allow that on average. They also are allowing 3 receptions to the running back. His line is 1. What would 3 be? Shit, 2 is plus money. 2 is at plus 180. They go straight from 2 to 4, which is crazy. But they're allowing that, right? They're allowing it. Is there anything else? Okay, we got a bright green over here. His rush plus receiving is 40 and a half. He averaged over that. They allow well over that. A bright green 53 rush plus receiving yards. Oh my bad, y'all. I got this game on. Is that Metcalf? That boy Metcalf is different, man. So that just threw me off. Okay, so for him, his rush yards and or plus rush receiving look like money today. Again, I can't emphasize it enough, and I'm gonna keep nailing it in y'all head. We looking at defensive weaknesses. Attack, defensive weaknesses. Attack, defensive weaknesses. Debo Samuel. Reception long. This is another one, y'all. You can't parlay, right? They're giving up a 29-yarder. Let's say that a 29-yard reception is what they're giving up on average. It's well over his 20 and a half. And it's minus 112 on FanDuel, the best book. So keep that in mind. All right. Okay, here we go. Luke McCaffrey, the wide receiver 2, the slot receiver. They're giving up, again, bright green. They're giving up 35 yards receiving. And again, the thing I love about this over here is, like I said, it's going to be bright green on its own based on what the line is. So by this 35 being so far away from 20 and a half, it's going to be bright green. The further away, the more they're allowing, the bigger the difference is, the brighter the green. So 35 yards receiving is what they're giving up to the slot receiver. His line is 20 and a half. And again, if you want to use the offensive side as a safe place, look at this. His line 20 and a half. They're giving up more than 20 and a half. He averages more than 20 and a half. So 20 and a half look like a good spot to take today for Luke McCaffrey, seeing that he averages more than that. They allow more than that. It's just that simple. You know what I'm saying? Make it marry each other if need be. But for me, all I need is the defensive side. But again, if you want to take the approach where you feel a little better when the offensive player also averages more, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. But this looked like a good spot to take for Luke McCaffrey, his receiving yards today. We move. Oh, stop. Okay, it's a pass long. I'm going to try to stay away from these for y'all. Okay, so never mind. I'm trying to find bright greens. Okay, here we go. Tyler, not about to say that. Aguilar, I know it, but I don't, right? I know it, but I don't. Okay, so look, if you come over here, I see a couple things. So like receiving yards, 14. His line is 2. Wow. His line is 2. I don't know how to feel about that, but I do know that not one running back 2 has gotten less than 2 yards receiving. I mean, even he got a 4-yarder in week 2. He got 4 yards receiving in week 2. They're not giving up less than just 2 yards. Is that shit free, y'all? What the fuck? If you made it to this part, is this 2 yards free? Put it in the comments if it's free or not. I'm trying to stay. Matter of fact, this is how I'll do this. Long. Anything that's the longs. To try to keep it longest reception. Longest receiving. See target shit. Anything else longest. All right. Quarterback. Let me see. Running back. I'm trying to get this out the way. Longest rush. And then the quarterback one. It's the whoa. Did I see this? Oh, yeah, we seen this, but I'm just trying to get some of this shit out the way. Okay. Try to eliminate some of the stuff that I know that, I just try to make it easier for y'all. Okay, so Chris Moore, we was here. If you're looking at a line, it's Chris Moore. Look, he averaging well over 23 and a half. He averaging over that. They give up more than that. So Chris Moore, this wide receiver 3 for receiving yards. I like that 23 and a half. Okay. I thought I just took this shit off. Where the hell is pass long at? Passing yards, longest completion. None of this shit. Maybe I can't take it off. Okay. All right. So, okay. Oh, hold on. Come over here. I see some bright green. Okay, here we go. Who is this? Michael Penix. However you say his name. His line is 6.5 rushing yards today. He's averaging over that with 10. They're allowing 20 yards rushing from running backs. And also I'm looking at his attempts too. So they're allowing 4 attempts. He averaging 3 rush attempts. So I like this 6.5 rushing yards. It's at -115 on, I think that's Hard Rock, right? Line 6.5. He averaged 10. But more importantly, the way I look at it, they're giving up 20 yards rushing to quarterbacks, and his line is only 6.5. So that's something that I do like, his rush yards. You can put that on a parlay. Oh, we was already here. I don't know how I didn't see that. Okay, so Drake London. Okay, here we go. Darnell Mooney. Okay, they're giving up to the wide receiver 2 spot. They're giving up 6 receptions a game. His line is 4 at plus money on ESPN Bet. Love that. They're giving up 8 targets a game to the slot receiver. He averaging 8 targets. So he's averaging 8 targets. They're giving up 8 targets. On them 8 targets, they're giving up 6 actual catches. They're giving up 6 catches. And his line is 4. They're giving up 81 yards receiving. His line is 45. So again, these are spots that you can play with where you can come in here and you get to looking at 50. You can go up to 60. You can go up to 70. You can go up to 80 at 425. They're giving up 81 yards receiving. And I see that come from right here. Somebody who had 9 targets and 8 receptions. Shit, he had 11 targets last game. The catches is on them, or at least between the connection of them two. But what I'm saying is, like, he get the targets. He's averaging 8 targets in the 2 weeks he played, taking the 4 and 11 combined. So the targets and the receiving yards, if you just want to take his line at 3.5, and what the hell was his line? 49, like 44 or something like that. I like both of these. Look at all of this bright green over here. I like both of those. All right, keep moving. Who else we got? Okay, here we go. Kyle Pitts. I see bright green. His receiving yard line is 38.5 receiving yards today. They're giving up 56. He averaging 45. Both sides are averaging more and more allowed than the 38.5 yards that that is his line today. Kyle Pitts Sr., his receiving yards look like a good play today. Do we know what they're gonna do? No, but we can't. That's what we can't worry about. All we can do is go off of what we see. I tell you all the time, trust the read, live with the results. It's just that simple. We go through these games, we trust the read, and we live with the results of what we seeing, that these defenses of weaknesses that we seeing. Simple. Okay, I seen some bright green. So rush yards out the gate. So New York defense is allowing 29 yards rushing with 6 rush attempts to to quarterbacks, right? His rush attempt line is 4.5. Now, I like this line. It's at plus money. They're giving up 6 rush attempts to quarterbacks. Justin Herbert is averaging 6 attempts to running. So he's averaging running 6 times a game. They giving up 6 runs a game from the quarterback, and his line is 4.5 at plus money. Love that line. More importantly, his rushing yards line is 16.5. He's averaging 23. They're giving up 29. So I love the 16.5 rushing yards today for Justin Herbert. I like his attempts probably more for me. Again, y'all know I'm value. So I'm looking at, out of the two, I love them both. Which one I'm going to take? I'm going to easily take the one that's at higher odds. So I like the actual 6 rush attempts, seeing that that's what they're allowing, and he averaged 6, and he only need 5 of those to cash me out at plus money at plus 116 on DraftKings. Was there anything bright down here? No. Okay, first stop, Lad McConkey. they're giving up. They done gave up a touchdown in 2 of the 3 games, which brings their total to almost 1.7. His touchdown, he hasn't scored this year so far. To me, that's a good thing. I always tell y'all, I love when I find a player that haven't done something because we know that the books base the odds on recency about what they've done lately. So since he haven't, that's why they got his touchdown today at 215. But me seeing that they've given up 2 out of 3, shit, to me, that's something worth looking at, which brings their total to their average to 0.7 a game. They're giving up 87 yards receiving. His line is 63.5. He's got that 63 for the ones who care about that once this season so far. So you can't say he can't get 63 yards. He's done it. If you look at the defensive side, not one player, fuck the 63, not one wide receiver one has had less than 70 yards receiving. Not one has had less than 70 yards receiving. So for me, that 63, I love that 63.5 today based on the weakness of New York defense to wide receiver ones, because every wide receiver one has hit that line so far, which brings their average to even 87, which is well over the 63.5 that he would need to cash you out. See, most gonna look at this side. They like looking at this side. But for me, I don't know. I always say, like, okay, Quentin Johnston, look at all these receiving yards. His average, crazy, bright green. Same thing applies. His average is bright green because it's well over his line. But, each week is different based on defenses. So to me, from what I'm seeing, just based on this average, their New York defense is a little stronger against wide receiver twos. So for me, it's like, do I want to take that chance on Quentin Johnston's to go crazy like he been going when he going against a stronger defense than he's played against? Right? That's how I'm looking at that. That's why for me, I focus on defensive weaknesses versus offensive strengths. If the offensive strength fall in line with it, even better. But I've seen more times a person over exceed taking advantage of a bad defense than a person playing better against a good defense, if that makes sense. Just from my experience. Here's another one. I ain't even about to try to say this. Gadsden, right? Look, notice something. He played one time. In that one time he played, he had 7 targets, 5 catches in those 7 targets with 46 yards, right? Look at what they allowed. They allowed 5 receptions, which he had that one time he played, 43 yards receiving, which he had that one time he played. Look at this, y'all. His receiving yard, his receptions is 3 catches at plus money. He got 5 before. They're giving up 5. 5 receptions for him is plus 594, plus 600 basically, for him to do what they allowed and something that he just did last week. Plus 600 for 5 receptions again. Not only that, his receiving yards line is 22.5. 30 yards receiving is plus money, which is still under his average in that one game and the average that they've allowed, which is 43 so far this season. So you get where I'm going with that? Like, you can catch some decent alt lines with value finding these bright green spots because you got that wiggle room to look into in between their line and the average allowed and find some decent value in there. So I say that to say, just his lines alone, Gadsden, I love his receiving line at 2.5 at plus money, and I love his reception line. I'm sorry, at 3 receptions at plus money. Love that, and I love this 22.5 receiving yards. Seeing that not one tight end has not gotten 25 yards, let alone the 23 he needs. Moving along. This keep fucking me up. Just past this. Jackson Dart. Okay, let me see if we got anything down here. Now, no, don't worry about it. Okay, here we go. Receiving yards for the wide receiver 2 spot. Now I'm gonna tell you something that I look at. Now, yeah, they're giving up 10. So let's see what 10 would be. Oh, you got it. What the fuck? You can't even take 10, so never mind. Receptions, they're giving up 2 a game. Let's see if we can see if they got a 2. 2 is 220. If you take Devin Singletary for 2 receptions, you get that at 220. That's what they get, 223. They're averaging 2 receptions a game to the running back 2 spot. If you decide to play that on Hard Rock for 2 receptions at 220. Malik Neighbors. Okay, here we go. 95 yards receiving. He's averaging 84. They're giving up 95. His line is 65. Not one receiver got less than 65 receiving yards against, not one wide receiver one. Not one, the main receiver against this defense has gotten less than 65. So seeing that he averaging more than 65, they're allowing way more than 65. I love the 65 yards receiving today for Malik. It's just that simple. They're also giving up 7 receptions, but his line is 6. So again, 7. His line is 6. That's why you don't see it as being bright green. That's what I was talking about when I'm saying like when you don't see that, that's why. When it's not super bright green, it's right at the line. I like the wiggle room seeing the bright green. 28. So Theo Johnson, the tight end 1, they're giving up 28 yards receiving to the tight end 1 spot. His line is 18.5. He's gotten that in week 2. He's gotten 19 yards receiving in the game before, for the ones who care about the offensive performance. What I'm looking at is 2 games out of the 3, they've given up well over 18, which brings their average, even though that they've given, and whoever this is, he got a 0% receiving share in week 3. That means he didn't get 1 target. What you can see right here, receiving targets. So it's kind of like, I got to take you away. Now, another way, again, do this. He got 3 targets in week 1, 5 week 2, 2 week 3, which brings his average to 3 targets a game. So if you want to eliminate shit like this, you would just filter. He's never win a game without a target, so why the fuck would I want to see a player that's going to fuck up my average because he ain't have a target? So you can also say, okay, the lowest targets you've seen this player had was 2. So don't show me nobody with no tight end with less than 2 targets. Now look what happens. Right? So now we done went up to 42.5 yards receiving. Just for shits and giggles, let's see. 40 receiving yards. Oh, look, we can even say 30. You can say 30 because he's gotten 30 before, for those who care about that, right? Even 30, which is still 12.5 yards lower than what they're giving up. And they've given up 30 every game, both games. The 2 games where a tight end has gotten over 2 receptions is 210 for 30 yards receiving yard, 30 receiving yards for the tight end. You get that at plus 210 for Theo Johnson. Tell you, don't overthink this. Don't make it too hard. Treat it the same, sport in and sport out. Find those weak spots that the defense allow. Keep it moving. Panthers, Patriots. All right, here we go. Passing yards. Out the gate, we see a bright green passing yards. So the New England defense is giving up 272 yards passing on average to this season to the quarterback spot, right? His average is lower, but one thing you do see is in week 2, he went well over that 272 that they're giving up. His line is 205. So his line is 205.5. They're giving up 272. And you can see with your own eyes that he's hit that 205 already this season. He went well over it when he did hit it. You can do the same thing here. Look, 35, 55, 25, 24. Remember what I said. This is why I like averages. He had a 55 pass attempt game, but 35, 24. So look what his average is. 38. Bring that shit back down to earth. That's why I like having a lot of games, because it brings the average. So outlier games like this won't fuck up this average. Yeah, he had a 55, but 35 and a 24 brought that average back down to 38. So what I do see is 38. So what I can see over here is you can look at pass attempts. Now, none of them has over 38 pass attempts. So I wonder what that looks like against, well, he would be the first person that's going to pass anywhere near close to that. But what I will say is I do like this 205, and I'm personally willing to go up to 270. I never go over the average. I never go over it. That was like a rule of mine going back to basketball. So, yeah, I'm not going to 275 personally. I'm going to stop at 270. I never go over what the average allowed is. I always try to go as high as I can to it without going over it. So, like, I would entertain 270 if that's an option. It's a 270 right here. Why is this shit moving like that? Oh, okay. So I would entertain all the way up to 270 at plus 485. I'm never going over the line. 275 is 500. I'm not going there. Look, watch what happens. When I go 275, now this turns red because this is lower than what the line I'm looking at is. 270, I'm still in that green spot. So that's how I do this. I always go as high as I can without going over the average. Chubba, I'm about to call this nigga Chubba Wubba. I don't know what the fuck. Chubba Hubbard. That shit is so crazy to me. What I do see is receiving yards, right? His line is 17 and a half. They're giving up 43 yards receiving to the running back spot, the running back one spot. Hell, he averages 25 yards. So he's even averaging higher than the 17 and a half line, which is plus money. Shout out Novig. I keep telling y'all that Novig shit most likely going to have the best line across the board. But again, this is how I approach this. 17 and a half, I see that they're giving up 42, so I'm willing to go as high as 40. I'm not going to 50. That's going over the average. 40 is plus 400. So people always ask me, and the OGs know, his line is 17 and a half. That means everything in between from 17 and a half to 40 is an option. You can even stop at 30 to play it even safer. So you still got some wiggle room. And guess what? You in that plus 240 range. Two of these plus 240s is a plus 1,000. So now you still in that range. People always say I would say 40. They'd be like, what about 30? Well, you got to get the 30 to 40. So duh. If his line is 17 and a half, I'm willing to take it to the limit of what they allowing, which is 40. That means 20, 25, 30, the lines that we can see are available, all are in play. If you want to go those routes versus going all the way to 40. I'm just saying, I personally go all the way to the limit. And then I'll use this 30 as a water down, or the 25 or 20, where I get right at that plus money. You know what I'm saying? Get me out the negative odds. But the good thing about that is I probably wouldn't take 20 because 18 is 2 yards less, and I still got it at plus money. So look at it like that. So yeah, his receiving yards is good money today. Chubba Hubbard. Again, he averaged it, they allow it. So I already love that 18 yards at plus money on Novig. Here we go, another one. McMillan, the wide receiver one. So they number one receiver. His line is 66, right? He's averaging 72. His line is plus money on, guess where? Novig. He's averaging 72 yards receiving. They're giving up 80 yards receiving. Now, this is going to change. I just know how this works. Now, look at what he got. 9, 10, 8 targets, right? Which bring his average of 9 targets a game. Look at this. Filter targets. If his lowest targets has been 8, I don't want to see nothing less than, I'll even say 7. Don't show me a player a wide receiver one with less than 7 targets, because he get targeted a lot. So I don't want to see this 4 that's going to bring this average down from these numbers. He get way more targets than DJ Metcalf do, right? From what we seeing. So if I filter these targets and take out that 4 targets, no, he get way more usage than that. Don't show me none less than 7. Watch what happened to this 6 and 80. That shit just went to 8 and 97. I'll even go to 6 because I want to put that other one back in here. I think it was 6. Okay, so look, 7, 103. When you eliminated that DJ Metcalf, who was a player who Pittsburgh don't use the same as Carolina use him, right? You eliminated that, and you go around the players that's getting targeted the amount of times he get targeted. Now we at a 7 average receptions with a 103 average receiving yards. So you can get to looking in here and seeing, okay, 7 receptions, what they giving up. Plus 249. Well, what about 100 yards? What if you go out there and get 100 yards receiving today? That'd be plus 310. If you don't want to go that route, take the 90 at plus 220. You know what I'm saying? Again, he's got a 100-yard receiving game this year. So it's nothing that you should be afraid of, and that's what they're allowing. Hunter Renfrow in the slot, wide receiver 2. They're giving up 50 yards receiving. His line is only 32. So I love that 32. I don't care about your average on the offensive side. He's gotten 32 yards receiving before. They've given up 32 yards receiving every single week this season to the slot receiver, the wide receiver 2 spot. So it's a no-brainer for me that 32.5 look good at minus 110 to parlay or run straight over on BetMGM. Now, this one, you got to be careful because you see that this came from just a crazy performance. Now, what I mean by that is this tight end, Brock Bowers, is used totally different than this target. How do I know that? Receiving targets for Tommy Tremble, 1-3-2. 1-3-2, which brings his average to a whopping 2 targets a game. Look at how many targets Bowers had this game to get 100 yards. 8. You see where I'm going with that? He got more targets in one game than this tight end got in all 3 games combined. So that lets you know that the Raiders use Brock Bowers way different than Tommy Tremble is used from Carolina. Stop doing that. So that's what I mean by that. Be careful. And another way I can show you better than I can tell you is this. Look, you can do it this way. I know from just doing it so much. Let's do this. What's the most receiving yard targets that Tremble got in a week this season? 3. Okay, filter targets. Instead of going more than, less. Show me a person with less than, only show me people with less tight ends with less than 4 targets. Interesting. Look what happens when you look at tight ends who don't get targeted a lot, like Tommy Tremble. That removed that 8 targets from Bowers. Now look at the averages. That shit look bloody. See the difference? So it's ways of using this shit to where you kind of can look at it from their point of view. If you're not scared of interceptions, Drake May, he's averaging 0.7. He done gave up an interception 2 of the 3 games. I don't care about that. What I see is Carolina defense done got an interception every game this season so far with a 1.3 average. And that 1 interception for Drake May is at plus money. So, if you don't, and that's at, what's that? Plus 115 on Fanatics. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm into, that bright green shit. Hold on, let me scroll this over because I see some shit over here. All right, so we got a few options with Stevenson. First option, rushing yards. His line is 33.5. They're giving up 83 yards rushing to the running back 1, right? With 13 rush attempts. Now, that's very telling. He's got this 33 already once with a 54 when he had a high rush share. I don't know why his rush share went lower this week. It could have been he was getting blew out or was blowing out somebody. I'm not sure. That doesn't matter. What I do see is they're giving up hella rushing yards. Now, one running back 1 has gotten less than that 34 yards this season so far. So Carolina is giving up a lot of rushing yards and rushing attempts to the running back 1 spot. You can get 8.5 rush attempts at minus 135. If you go up to 12, you can go up to 12. You can go up to 12. All right, my bad. You also can see where we seeing Bright Green at receiving yards. His line is 12.5. He's averaging 46 receiving yards. What am I missing here? He had an 88 and a 38 receiving yards these last 2 weeks. He's averaging 46 receiving yards. They're giving up 23. Why the hell is his line 13 receiving yards? I have no idea, but that's crazy. Even his reception long. His longest reception is on average 28 yards. They're giving up 17 yards for the longest reception. His line is 8.5 at minus 125. Don't know. Rushing receiving. This is like my favorite. I don't know if y'all starting to notice this about me in every sport. If you got a prop that's adding props together, you got me. Basketball, points, rebound, assists, PRA. Love that prop. Football, hit run RBIs. Love that prop. Rush plus receiving for running backs, I love that prop. When you can add them both. He's averaging 75 rush plus receiving yards combined. They're giving up 106 rush plus receiving yards combined to the running back. His line is 50 at plus money on FanDuel. I have no idea what the fuck is going on there. But These are spots that you want to exploit. Who are we to ask why they giving us good value? Period. So whether you want to go rushing yards, receiving yards, or rushing plus receiving, he's in a prime spot today to do some things. Stevenson is, based on his performance, but more importantly, based on what this defensive weakness is and what they're allowing to his position. Here go another one. Stephon Diggs. They're allowing 45 yards receiving to his to the wide receiver one. His line is 36. Week 1, he has 60 yards receiving. He get targeted, so we're not worried about that. So you can look at that 35.5 if you want as a parlay piece. Okay, hold on. Here go a touchdown spot. I'll be having to make sure I'm looking at this. For one touchdown, Mac Hollins. He had one in week 2. They've given up a touchdown to the wide receiver 3, 2 out of 3 weeks. His anytime touchdown is plus 550. Another spot that you can sprinkle on or add on to like a long shot lay and call it a day. Okay, here we go. Hunter Henry. He's averaging 7 targets a game, 4 receptions. He's averaging 55 yards receiving in these 3 weeks. His line is 40.5. Love that 40.5. I love his his receptions. He's averaging 4. They're allowing 5. So I love that 3.5 line. He's averaging 55 yards receiving. They're giving up 59. Love the 40.5. It's that simple. It's literally that simple. They're allowing more than his lines are. And luckily for him and a few people we found, he's averaging more than his lines. So that's a match made in heaven when both sides, especially when you're just taking their lines, which is here and not the alt line. When you're taking just their lines, that's a match made in heaven when both sides are green. Right? So Hunter Henry, what the fuck? Hunter Henry, receptions and receiving yards look good today. Here's another one. Austin Hooper as the tight end too. He's averaging 25 yards receiving. They're giving up 17 yards receiving. His line is 13.5. Both sides are he's averaging more. They're allowing more on average. So when both sides are green, it's really a good thing. So both tight ends are in a good spot to cover their receiving lines today. Moving along, Saints at Bills. All right. Okay, so out the gate, passing touchdown. So we do see they're giving up 1 per, and his line is minus 190 for 1. Get that shit off my screen. Okay, who is this? Spencer Rattler. He's averaging 18 yards rushing. His line is 17. They're giving up 43 yards rushing. Now, again, how you can do this is you could do process of elimination. So he got 4-4-2. So seeing that, just say you don't want to see none less than, you want to see everything less than 5. Or would I say 4? I guess it really wouldn't matter. So, okay, so yeah. So he's on, the most he's had is 4. So if you go less than 4, that'll take away this 5 and 6. And then that brought it down some. So me doing that, then that don't look as good as it did. Not saying he can't, but if you filter it that way. Okay, hold on. I see green. Okay, so Kamara. Line is 51.5 rushing yards. He's averaging 62 rushing yards. They're allowing 87 yards rushing. So not only can you take his line at 51.5, you have the wiggle room to go up and see if you can find some value in between his line of 52 and 87, what they're allowing. You got that space that you can go look at the alt lines and know safely, like, I can take any of these alt lines for value and it still be less than what they're allowing on average to that position. That's what it's about, trying to find those spots like that. Rush plus receiving. His line is 75.5. He's averaging 78 rush plus receiving. More importantly, they're allowing 104. So again, you got that wiggle room. You could take the 75.5 line that's safe because both sides is green, or you could take it to the next level and between 76 and 103, do you find any line in there that's going to have some type of value spots that you could take that'll help you eliminate having a lot of legs on your parlays and make your lottos with? Simple as that. Chris at the wide receiver 1. He's averaging 8 targets. They're giving up 9 targets. Here's another one that you can kind of look at. He hasn't had a touchdown all season. Cool. They've given up a touchdown to the wide receiver 1. 2 out of the 3 games, which is bringing their average to, if you round it up to 1. His 1 touchdown anytime is plus 280, right? They're also giving up 81 yards receiving. He hasn't had 80 yards receiving yet this season. That do not scare me at all. That don't scare me at all. I promise you that shit don't. I'm still going to be up in this 75, 80 range. Look, 80 is plus 230, which is what they allow. This is how you find those gems. This is how you find those spots where it's like, damn, what made you see that? I ain't see. That's how. I don't care what you did offensively, especially when I'm looking at your alt lines for value. I don't care what you've done at all. Rashid, he has 1 touchdown in the last 3 weeks. Well, this season, they're another one where they've given up 2 touchdowns out of the 3 weeks to his spot. His 1 touchdown is plus 370. If you want to entertain these anytime touchdowns, where you can see that they're giving up touchdowns to these spots more often than not. Let's see. See, like, these type of things be so crazy. It's because of, like, just Jawan Johnson, she'll look crazy. But then if you look at over here, clearly Buffalo defense is very good. They must got good linebackers and safe. They're very good against tight ends. Do that mean that he can't do it? No, it don't. But again, I'm not here to fight the system. Like, from what I'm seeing, they're containing these tight ends to these low-ass averages. So it's one of them things where it's like, I kind of pay attention to these spots because now I'm interested to see, do this good defense go good? Let me see if the split. 25 receiving yards to tight ends. They're first. They are the first, in which we could tell they're the best team against tight ends for reception yards allowed. They don't give up a lot. Receiving yards per reception, they're the best. And receptions, period, they're the best. So, okay, so that makes sense from what I already seen, that they not watching that shit. So now I'm interested to see a person with this kind of usage. Because if you average 9 targets a game, you're used a lot. So now I'm interested to see how this Jawan Johnson plays, where you're a high targeted tight end up against the best team so far defensively against tight ends. I'm interested to see how that play out. But I ain't touching that shit. I tell you that now. It got to make sense on the defensive side. Again, I'll keep looking here. It's this pass long. That shit is irritating. Okay. All right. Oh, here we go. Look, James Cook. Oh no. That's crazy. I'm not even about to entertain this, y'all. Treat this like a plus 100 home run for me. I'm not even stopping on no negative odd touchdowns. I'm sorry. What I do see is 23 yards receiving is Bright Green. He's averaging 24. His line is 13.5. So I love his receiving. Who is this? James Cook. Love his receiving yards today at 13.5. He averaging more than that. They're allowed more than that. Ray Davis. His line is 18.5 rush yards. He has done that already this season. In week 2, he did it. They haven't given up less than 18.5 to the running back 2 spot. None so far this season. So that might be something you might want to look into, is that 18.5 rushing yards for Ray Davis, seeing that they giving up so much rushing yards to the running back 2 spot. All right, to the Keon Coleman, that wide receiver 1 spot, they get cooked by. Again, he has 1 touchdown. They've given up a touchdown to his position twice. So his touchdown anytime is plus 220. If that's something that you may like, right? You may like that. More importantly, we're looking at Bright Green. His line is 40 yards receiving today at plus money on FanDuel for 40 yards. He's averaging 53 from this outlier game that he had in week 1, and they're giving up 74. They haven't given up less than they've given up that 40 yards receiving to that wide receiver 1 spot both times. Both times. So all 3 times. I'm sorry. So again, 40 look good money. Both sides green. But again, if you use these to find spots, like, you willing to go up to this. So do I find that plus 200 range without going over the average allowed? It's just that simple, which is in the 60. So I don't even got to go up to 70. Just being at 60, I'm at plus 260. And I still got room to go to 65 and 70. But I can just stop at that plus 260 at 60 receiving yards, and I still got the wiggle room. I've seen he done that before, if you care about that. But more importantly, I'm still got 14 yards to spare that they're allowing on average. That's how you find your value spots. And I'm going fast because again, I'm so used to doing this shit. I kind of know. Look, receiving yards for Dawson Knox. He's averaging 13 on the season. They're giving up 14. So again, both sides being green, that 11.5 looks very good to me. That's something that you can entertain or should entertain. I will say. Let's see. Okay. And it's gonna be games which is better, that you're gonna just go through. You're gonna come across good defenses. And again, guess what? I tell y'all all the time, even in baseball, the best gamblers are the ones who know when to fade something. Simple as that. You ain't forcing players, you're not forcing teams, you just understand when to fade. Okay, Jalen Hurts. This defense, Tampa Bay's defense, is giving up 234 yards on average so far this season to the quarterback spot. His line is 194. He had that last game. They haven't given up less than 194 to not none of these three quarterbacks. So again, 194, I like. That defense hasn't given up less than 194 yet to not one quarterback. And he had 194 over just last week alone. So I like his line of 194 for passing yards. Okay. Saquon Barkley. Where we seeing green at? Okay. Receiving yards. His line is 16.5 at plus money. They're giving up 53 yards receiving. He has 17 week 1. And he get his targets. So I don't know what's going on here where he not catching it, but he get targets. Like even here he had 5 targets, 4 catches, but it only equaled 9 yards. That's crazy. I like this 16.5 receiving yards at plus money on no vig. And I got a lot of wiggle room seeing that they're giving up to 50. Again, so I can stop at 30 once I'm at that 240, 250-ish range. I can stop at 30 and I'm good. And still got 23 yards to spare based on what they're allowing on average. So I like Saquon's receiving yards today. Love it. Here's another one, A.J. Brown, who got his first touchdown last week. They've given up a touchdown to the wide receiver 1 the last 2 weeks. His anytime touchdown is plus 200. So keep that in mind. Okay. I'm also looking at these receptions. He's coming off of a 5 and a 6 reception, but more importantly to me, the one thing I'm looking at when I look at receptions is players who are high targeted, right? Just like when I'm looking at rushing yards, I'm looking at the players who get a lot of rush attempts and they carry a lot of the rush share. They get the ball more often than not. So what I do notice is he getting on average 6 targets a game. You can see it's revving up. Every week it done got more. Week 1, he only got 1. Week 2, 8. Last week, 10. They're giving up 12 receptions on average to that position, which is giving them a 7 average. So his line is 5. I like the 5, but again, look what 7 is. You in that plus 240, 250 range where you can only take 2, where you only got to take 2 or 3 of these players and get a great valued parlay. The more people on your parlay, the harder it is to hit. I tell y'all all the time, you know what I'm saying? You got to think, somebody coming to work, not to work. The more people you put on your parlay, you giving yourself a higher chance of having that bum ass nigga who coming to work just to get paid today on your parlay. So the less legs you got to deal with and you take those looks that you just absolutely love, you giving yourself a better chance of staying away from the players who what we call it, sell. Y'all say sell, I say came to work, not to work. I want the players who coming to work to work. So from what I'm seeing, the less people I can use on them parlays, the better for me. All right, so we move. Dotson. He's averaging 23 yards receiving from that monster game he had in week 1. Cool. His line is only 10. Look at what they're giving up to that wide receiver 3 spot. 25 average. They've given up more than 10 to all 3 games to that wide receiver 3. So 10 at minus 112 with both sides being green. I love that. You know what else I also love? I love this. He's averaging 2 receptions a game, just on average, right? They're giving up 2 receptions a game. His line at 2 is at plus money. 2 receptions for Dotson is at plus 152. Again, both sides, he's averaging 2, they're giving up 2. So I like that at plus money. As long as both sides, when I'm looking at your line, if both sides green, I really like that. Same here. Like, look at this. Gobert, go there, however you want to say it, the tight end. He's averaging 4 receptions a game. They're giving up 5 receptions a game. So that 4 receptions, which is his line at plus money, I like that. I like his receiving yards at 35. He's averaging 39. They're giving up 35. But again, do that mean I'll put a trigger on those? No, not necessarily. I like them, but again, I'm more comfortable when I find those bright green spots where I have wiggle room. That's more important to me, the wiggle room. Like for Baker Mayfield rush yards, his line is 18. Baker has had over 30 every game, so I don't understand why. But he's averaging 39. They're allowing 23. They're allowing 23. Now, again, if you eliminate some of these, you will. Look at this. Week 1, 1 rush attempt. Week 3, 0 rush attempts. These brought this average down because it's of they don't have anything, right? But what I do notice is it ain't a game that Baker ain't ran at minimum 3 times. So if I came over here and said, don't show me no quarterback that ran less than 3 times. It's only this one game, and that person who ran 7 times, which is Pat Mahomes, he went for 66. Right? So that even tells me more that when it's a quarterback who actually do run, they can get a lot of yards. So that makes me like Baker Mayfield 18 yards rushing if he plays today more. I like that line. I also like this 3.5 rush attempts for him. He's averaging 4. They're giving up 7. Well, which with these added. Well, that's only one game, so I'm not going to go off averages. If it's only one game, all I can do is just look at the number I'm seeing, not necessarily the average. It ain't nothing else to average it to. Here we go. Bucky Irvin. You can get Bucky anytime touchdown at plus money on Fanatics, right? He had 1 touchdown week 1. What I noticed is, look what they're giving up on average. They gave up 2 in week 1, and then they gave up 1 last week, which means they gave up 3 in 3 games, which means the average is 1. They're averaging a touchdown allowed per game on average to the running back 1. So Bucky Irvin, that's a spot for you if you want to take an anytime touchdown with some type of decent value at plus money. Simple as that. Rachaad White. Now, I like a lot about this. I like this 7 rush attempts. He's averaging 6. They're allowing 7. You getting 5 at plus money. Don't take a rocket scientist. His rush yards, his line is 17. He's averaging 30. They're giving up 46. So not only do I like that 16.5, I'm willing to go up as far as I can where I'm getting good value without going over 45 yards rushing. I even can see with my own eyes that he's got a 65-yard rushing game in week 2. That's how I'm finding those value when I can see these spots like that. And I got space in between the line of 17 and the average allowed of 46. It's got to be a crazy value in between there from 17 yards to 45 yards. And then again, look, 26.5. If I got to pick one, this is your best bet. Take the rush plus receiving. His line is 26.5. He's averaging 32 rush plus receiving. They're giving up 46. Both sides is bright green. Line 26. Not only do you got to take rushing, not only do you got to take receiving, you can combine them. This is a no-brainer for 26.5 rush plus receiving for Rachaad White today. Wide receiver 1, Chris Godwin. I don't know what's going on here. He got lines, but he haven't played this year? Don't know. But what I do know is they're giving up 94 yards receiving to that top receiver and 7 receptions. So I think this 3 receptions at minus 137 going to be free. And I think this 31 yards receiving going to be free. If you want to stay away from that, you can, by all means, because I'm assuming that nothing over here, meaning he ain't played yet this year. But from what they're allowing, Philly's defense, that shit might be free. We only want bright greens. That'll help us get through these games. We got, and I'll do Monday night tomorrow on stream. That way I'll have something to talk about. And I can look at that from prop finder point. Colts Rams. Let's get into this. See what we got. Just canvas to see if I got some bright green here. Not yet. Okay. We want bright green and not on the right side. You want to see it on this defensive side. Okay, here we go. Pittman. They're allowing 64 yards receiving to the wide receiver 1 spot. He's averaging 64. 53 and a half yards receiving today for Michael Pittman is a no-brainer. And when I say no-brainer, that's not the same as lock. That shit do not exist. These niggas still got to go out there and perform. And I hate to have to say that because I feel like that is one of the most obvious things in gambling. But you would be surprised when you see the shit that people say and how they be on people's ass about this. We stop at research. You and when I say we, that's including you. You don't go out there and lace up and catch for these niggas. All you can go off of is the data, right? He's averaging 64 yards receiving. That's 11 yards more than his line. They're giving up 64 yards receiving. That's 11 more yards than his line. In what world wouldn't that make sense to you to be like, well, damn, he's averaging 11 more. They're giving up 11 more. Why wouldn't 53 and a half look like a good spot to target today? Whether he go out there and do it or not, that's all we can do. Is like I say, trust the read, live with the results. I'm not mad at this not hitting if Michael Pittman go out there and shit the bed or anything come up, that we can't control because the read made the most sense. You average it, they allow it, and y'all got 10 yards to spare on both sides to your line. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. Josh Downs. They're giving up 50 yards receiving to the slot receiver. His line is 40. Do he average that? No. But do I see that he done got a 40 yards in the game before? Yes. But more importantly, I tell y'all, for me, 49, I'm trying to see in between 40 and 49 if I can go up in an alt line. I'm looking at it from a value point of view. Simply for that reason. That's why I'll be wanting to hunt the bright greens. But I do stop when we do see double greens because that's something you do want to identify. Here's another one where it's like he done gave up an inner the last 2 games. Matt Stafford, they average in the inner a game. You can get 1 interception for Matt Stafford at plus money over on BetMGM at plus 105. Over here, rush yards. They're giving up 13 rush yards. His line is 1, which he hasn't had yet. But the funny thing is he get rush attempts. That's the crazy. He averaging 2 rush attempts a game, right? Go that route, if anything. He only didn't have a rush attempt his last game. He had 2 in week 2, 4 in week 1, which brings his average to 2. They're giving up 2 rush attempts. You can get 2 rush attempts if you want to go that route at plus money at plus 140. So you can even go that route with if you don't want to take the rush yards because this motherfucker he running backwards. I don't know what's going on with Buddy. How you average minus 3 yards with 2 rush attempts? Go sit your slow ass down somewhere. All right. Man, listen, I almost said anytime minus 170 is crazy. But again, I do see bright green. Kyron Williams, his receiving yards, y'all. It's 9.5 as his line. He's averaging 12, so he got wiggle room on his end. They're giving up 14. It's a no-brainer that Kyron Williams 9.5 receiving yards is a good play based off the read. They're giving up 5 yards more. He's averaging 3 yards more. So not both sides are averaging allowed and given. What he does more than what that 9.5 is. So 9.5 receiving yards for Kyron today look like a good play. It looked like a good read based off of what the defense allow and what he doing. Okay, here go another one. Devontae Adams. He done scored the last 2 games. They done gave up a reception the last 2 games to that slot receiver. So you can get his anytime at plus 130. You can't ask for more than that. That's good money based on seeing that they both averaging. They both done allowed. He's gotten it 2 out of 3. They've given it up 2 out of 3 to that position. So getting that plus money, hey. Jordan Whittington, 23 receiving yards. He's averaging 16. He's gotten up to 42 yards in 1 game. So 15.5 receiving yards. I like that for this Jordan Whittington as the wide receiver 3 at that spot. Higbee, another one. 3 receptions they're allowing on average with 33 yards receiving. His line is only 14.5, which he's gotten in week 2. He get targets these last couple weeks. I'm just not sure why he's not catching the ball. But Tyler Higbee, 14.5 receiving based on them. And look, again, you could come here. You look at the split, 25, receiving yards. They're giving up 45? Hold on, what is this? Receiving yards. 45. So they right in the middle of the pack. Yellow, 16th. 16th in the middle of the pack. So you can do what you want with that information. Receiving targets 3. Let's see something. Oh, damn, I gotta go to tight end 1. Oh, here we go. So yeah, so 33 yards receiving. This right? 30, yeah, okay. Yeah. 33 we'll be seeing here. And that was like middle of the pack so far. It like what was it, 16th rank or some shit like that? What was this? Yeah, 16th. So that's dead smack in the middle to receiving yards to tight ends, which again, you can look at it from that if you like ranks, or I'm more so the numbers guys, because I can play now. I know, like, okay, I'm good up to 30 yards. If I want to go that route, I can get up to 30 yards and be good. This is crazy. Plus 1,000. He didn't score 2 out of 3, and then they haven't given up a lot. Okay. Damn, that's a high ass line. Jaguars, 49ers. Come down here and I see action. So they've given up on average, he's averaging 3 attempts running. They're giving up 4 with 21 yards. His line is 10.5. So you could take that 10.5, or you can take up to 20 yards in the alt line, which you can get at plus 260. That range you're gonna find. You're not gonna find like the crazy home run odds unless you go super, super high, like how I can look for the value in there. But for me, I know for football wise, that plus 260, like 240, 50, 60 and up, that's where you start getting value when it comes to football. It's a little lower than it is because their lines are different. All right. Again, I'm just going for the bright green spots. Okay, rush attempts. 9 rush attempts. Shit, he had 8 and 6. Again, this is not a parlay piece, at least not on FanDuel. But if you want to go up to 9, you can take that at plus 350 if you decide to. This is a good one right here, receiving yards. He's average. I mean, they're giving up 6. He's averaging 11, and his line is 5. Brian Thompson, who this is the crazy part. He getting crazy targets. Catches ain't there. But what I tell you, it's all about production. So for me, it's like he get a lot. He's averaging 8 targets a game. So that's a good sign for me. Like, catches or not, you can't just keep playing like that. At the end of the day, I know that you get the ball thrown to you. Simple as that. You get the ball thrown to you. Just catch that motherfucker. They're giving up 74 yards receiving to that wide receiver 1 with 6 targets. 6 receptions. So you can take the 4.5, or you can go to 60 route, however. But if you worried about that though, like as far as averages, again, just look at the averages. You can also look at it like this. His lowest was 6. His highest was 12. So if you take away this 13, that might change something because he ain't got 13. So let's say if you go less than 13 targets. Okay, that changes everything now. So that make that play something I don't like. If I took away that high 13 and don't go no higher than 6, which we see he hasn't went over 12, now everything turns red. Here go look, Brenton Strange. Now the thing I will say, he don't get no red zone shares. He don't get no targets in the red zone. But what I was noticing was they have given up a touchdown to the tight end 1. But the thing is, again, be careful with that. He don't get his red zone receiving share is 0. He don't get a single. You can see targets in the red zone. He don't get a single target down there. So it's like, damn. But that don't necessarily mean that. He can go long and score, but he ain't scored all season. So just be careful with that one. But it just caught my attention seeing that. Hey, now this is some crazy shit right here, y'all. Like, y'all don't even look at this. Purdy got 2 inners that game he played. They got 2 inners, y'all, every game. What is 2 inners? 475. That's crazy. See, that's the shit I'll be looking at. They averaged 2 inners a game, and of course, it's only one game. And in that one game, he gave up 2 inners. They got 2-3-2. So 2 inners at plus 475 got some value there. Would I play it? No, I'm scared of those, but it got value there. They're giving up 21 yards rushing to the quarterback. He only played that one game, but in that one game, he had 17. So that 10.5 may be free. That 10.5 rushing yards for Brock may be free. Whoa, here we go. Jennings. He's averaging 53 yards receiving on them 2 games he played. They're averaging allowing 112 with 9 targets. He had 10 targets. 9 receptions. He had 10 with 12. They're giving up 12 targets with 9 of those being catches with 112. He had 10 targets last game. Well, 2 weeks ago when he played. So you got so much wiggle room in here with his alt lines for receptions and for his receiving yards alt line. You got super wiggle room for him. I love this Jawan Jennings. You got crazy wiggle room for his alt lines in receptions and actual receiving yards, whichever one you decide to go. And then, of course, if I'm telling you that, I love his line of 3.5 catches and 43.5 receiving yards. That's obvious. If I'm telling you, you can go up the ladder with these players. All right, Jake Tonges. They're giving up 31 yards receiving on 3 catches. He's averaging 3 catches with 22 yards receiving. So I like both sides are green. I love the receptions. I love the receiving yards. I probably would be more comfortable taking the receiving yards. Why? Because the receiving yards is where that bright green spot is at allowed on the defense, meaning I got more wiggle room. They giving up way more than his line is. So that 20.5, if I had to pick one of the two, I think I would probably take the 20.5. I always tell people, for me, everybody got their own thing. I like receiving yards more than catches. Why is that? Catches, you got to catch that bitch. Receiving yards, you can get more yards and less catches. That's what yards after catch is. So I feel like if your line is 3 receptions, you have to catch the ball 3 times. Simple as that. Say your line is 50 yards receiving. You can get 50 yards receiving on 1 catch, 2 catches, 5 catches. You know what I'm saying? You can get receiving yards more or less on different amounts of catches. You can't do that with the receptions. Nigga, whatever that reception line is how many times you got to catch the ball. I like the wiggle room I got in actual receiving yards because of yards after catch. Moving along, Bears at Raiders. Let's come over here because that pass long is throwing me off. Here you go, Caleb. You can look 25.5 rushing yards. He's averaging 32, which is bright green because it's so far from the average. They're giving up 27. So 25.5 rush yards today for Caleb Williams looks very interesting. They've given up 31 and 40 the last 2 games. He's had a 60-yard rushing game at 27. He's averaging 32, well over the line. They're giving up 27 over the line. So 25.5 rush yards don't look bad, seeing that they've given up that 25.5 the last 2 games. They're giving up 6 rush attempts. He's averaging 5 rush attempts. So it's not like he don't run. That's another good thing as well. Like I said, pay attention to that. When you taking like anybody, if you taking somebody for receptions or receiving yards, make sure they're a high targeted receiver. You taking somebody for rush yards, make sure they carry majority of the bulk. They got a high rushing share with a lot of rush attempts. Passing yards, look for the quarterbacks with a lot of pass attempts. Quarterbacks to run or anybody, the running back to run, look for those rush attempts. Pay attention to those players where you feel like they gonna actually get action to help you with cashing your leg. So yeah, so from him, that Caleb Williams rushing yards at 25.5, I like that. Based on his defense. Here we go. DJ Moore. His line is 45.5 at plus money. They're giving up 82 yards receiving to DJ Moore's position, the wide receiver 1. If you want to come here and look, you can go to splits and then you can go to that wide receiver 1, receiving yards, 27th, 32 teams. So they give up the 5th most receiving yards this year so far. They give up the 5th most to his position, which is 83 yards, which is ranked 27th out of 32 teams, right? So I like that 45.5. But not only do I like that 45.5, I'm looking at your alt lines going up to 80 without going over 82.5. Do you got to go all the way up to 80? No, but I'm saying you got that wiggle room by them giving up so much more than what his line is today. And again, 46. He's done that 2 out of the 3 times this season. He just didn't do it last game. But outside of that, he's gotten a 45 2 out of the 3 games he's played so far. If you need that validation to make it easier on you from the offensive player side, I don't. All 3 of these could have been red. I wouldn't have cared. I go off of the defensive weakness to try to find people to attack. That I think that the books may be slipping on their lines and I can get some type of decent value. See, like this wide receiver 3, he's averaging 3 catches a game. They're giving up 3 catches a game. You can get 3 catches at minus 108. You know what I'm saying? Finding spots like this. Here's another one where we got that bright green we like. To Cole, they're giving up 35 yards receiving on the season this year to the tight end 1 spot. His line is 23.5. He's covered that line 2 out of 3. So because he didn't get it this week, I don't give a damn about that. What I do know is that you've done it twice this year and they're giving up way more than your line. So seeing that 23.5 at plus money on no vig is something that I'm interested or looking more towards when I'm going to create my lays because I'm seeing that that's a defensive weakness. If you want to look even further, again, you can come over here and let's see the split. Tight end 1s, the receiving yards 18th. So they like at the bottom half of that middle. Remember, 16 is the middle. So they're like middle of the pack, which is that 35 yards that we see here. If the rank does matter to you, they right in the middle. For me, it's like as long as it ain't red, meaning that they're one of the better teams, which you will know from here when you see a lot of red on this side. When you see a lot of red, you're gonna know that they're gonna be closer to 1. Passing touchdowns. Geno Smith, his line is 2 at minus 116. They're giving up 3 passing touchdowns on average, which he had last game. So just for shits and giggles, you come look, 3 touchdown passes today, 3 passing touchdowns, it's plus 300 for him. He had that last game. That's what they're giving up on average because somebody lit their ass up. Jared Goff for 5, right? So this is what I be saying when I'm talking about these averages you can look at and you can kind of like push the limits on something if you want to make like a lotto lay. Geno Smith, rushing yards. 10 rushing yards is his line at plus money on no vig. He's averaging 12. They're giving up 10. So they're basically allowing his line. He's averaging a couple yards over his line. So that 10 at plus money may be intriguing to some when you're looking at it like both sides average is higher than the actual line. Here we go. Zamir. Rushing yards. His line is 12, which he had 19 last game. They're giving up 40 to that position, that running back 2 spot. On the split side, you can look here. Look at this. I mean, this shit just got all green for all running backs. So they like 12th most touchdowns, 10th most rush attempts, 2nd most rush yards, 4th most rushing yards per attempt, right? If you look at that running back 2 spot, that shit all went down to the bottom, the most, like the 2nd or 3rd most. 3rd most, 2nd most, 3rd most. They giving up the most receptions to them. So you know what I'm saying? So you can see that this running back 2 spot, which you can see over here. Okay, that makes sense. Receiving yards. He's averaging 6. They're giving up 20. They're giving up 60 rush plus receiving. So again, if I got to pick one, seeing that everything is bright green, I think y'all done figured out by now, I'm going to take his rush plus receiving at 19.5. He got over that last game. They're giving up 3 times that amount. So keep that in mind with this Zamir White. He might be in a sneaky spot for that 20 rush plus receiving outside of rush alone, receiving alone. Jacoby, he might get his first touchdown this week. They've given up 1.3. They've given up a touchdown to the wide receiver 1 in 2 out of the 3 games. And Amon got 3 last week or 2 weeks ago. His anytime is plus money at plus 172. So Jacoby might get his first touchdown today based on how that defense is set up. Same here. Trey Tucker, he had 3 touchdowns last week. 4 on 3 games. He's averaging 1. They've given up a touchdown to that wide receiver 2 the last 2 weeks. And they giving you his anytime at plus 230. Not only that, I love his receiving yards. Bright green on his side. He's averaging 70. His line 45.5. They're giving up 68. His line is 45 and a half. So the 45 and a half receiving yards for Trey Tucker today is a no-brainer based on what we seeing from the data. No-brainer. His receiving yards is bright green on both sides. And again, that anytime touchdown, I would definitely be making watching. And again, look at this. Receiving yards basically in the red zone. Receptions in the red zone. He get targets, and more importantly, he get the ball thrown to him in the red zone. 30% reception red zone share. 67 last week. He was going ape shit in the red zone. So that's another good thing when you're looking at these touchdowns. It's good to know that you got a player, whether that be a running back, a receiver, tight end, who actually get red zone share, meaning that they get plays ran for them when they get close to the end zone. That 67% last week basically telling you 2 out of 3 plays in that red zone was to him. That's good to know when we want a person for a touchdown when y'all get close and we figuring out how y'all might want to go about getting these touchdowns. Okay, Ravens Chiefs. I can't wait to watch this game. All right, so let's see what we got going for this evening. I mean, I could have easily did this, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to just see based on this year. Okay, out the gate, Derrick Henry look like he can have a receiving day today. Okay, so first thing first, receptions. They're giving up 3 receptions per. Now, what I do want to do is this. Targets. He don't get the ball thrown to a lot. 1. So that needs to be filtered into this. I'll even say less than, I want to say less than 2. That'd be nobody. So I gotta probably say like less than 3. Reception targets 8. I said more than. I'm tripping. Hold on. So 2. So we can look at this like this. So he's averaging 6. His line is 5 receiving yards. He's averaging 7. They're giving up 10. So that 4.5 receiving yards might be some today. So pay attention to that for Derrick Henry. His receiving yards might be a go today. And it's so low at 4.5. Again, he averaging 7. They're giving up 10. So watch that. Is there anything else that's bright green on here or green period? No. Okay. Rushing yards for the wide receiver. The running back 2. They're giving up 18 yards. Again, rush attempts. Look at this, 2-3-0. So if you look at that filter rush attempts, show me everything less than 4 rush attempts because he ain't had 4 yet. Shit. And watch how shit transform. Guess what? It still stayed over. That's even better. It still stayed over his 7.5. So Justice Hill at that 7.5 line, they're still allowing more than that on 2 games of having that. So watch that. Watch that for sure. His rushing yards at that 8. Okay, here we go. We get starting to get to some action. Rashad Bateman. I think I spoke about him on some humble preview yesterday on Spaces. Watch Rashad Bateman. Pay attention to how they're approaching the slot receivers, as in Kansas City. They're giving up 4 receptions, 49 yards. He's averaging 3 receptions. So I already like 2.5 receptions today for him at minus 118 on no vig. He's averaging that. They're allowing 4. So I already like his receptions. But pay attention, though. They're giving up damn near 50 yards receiving. So I like that. Even his last game, he just had 63 yards. So what I'm looking at is, in here, I'm looking at like that 40 at plus money, that 35 at minus, more so for me, 40. I'm trying to get the plus. If I'm going to take an alt line, I'm not going to go up higher to a different negative. That just makes no sense. So you can even see last game, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 63 yards. They allow that to slots. They're giving that up. They're giving up 7 targets, 4 receptions, 49 yards. So I like his receptions, that 3 line, and I like going up to 40, but his line was what? Was it 34.5 or 33.5? Whatever one of them lines is, I like his line today. They give up a lot of action to the slot receiver. So Rashad Bateman might have a big game today. Here's another one. Hopkins. They are giving up target. Now, see, this is another one. This matters. The wide receiver 3. He only throw him the ball 2 times a game. So you don't want to see these 9s and shit like that. That's going to throw the averages away. So even if you win less than 4 targets, right, that brings up 1 person. So I'm not sure about that one because let me see if I put 5. I really don't want to put 5, to be honest. I really don't want to put 5. I can see over here. He literally, it's like they throw, it's 2 targets. It's hot. That's crazy that it's the same number every game. It's like 2 targets and then he don't even look his way no more. Okay, now watch this with Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes has scored 2 times in these 3 games. And Baltimore has given up 1 on average, like 0.7, 2 the first week. So, hey, watch this plus 492 for Pat Mahomes anytime. I'm just saying, watch it. Okay, rush attempts. See, I like this. I like this 4.5 rush attempts for Patrick Mahomes today at plus money. He's averaging 6 rush attempts. They're allowing 6 rush attempts. So I like that 4.5 at plus 100 on no vid today. Love that. Shit, his average is over it. They're allowing more than that. So that Baltimore defense, I like Patrick Mahomes' 6 rush attempts today at plus money. This shit look insane. God damn. 57 yards rushing is what they're allowing. So again, I like this 35.5, but more importantly, I'm looking at where can I get some value at going without going over 57. So I can go up to 50 and get it at plus 230 on Hard Rock. This is what I'm talking about when you're trying to find these value spots. I can go up to 50. So that when I say up to 50, that means 39.5 at plus money. That read 36, 35, whatever his line was, 34, whatever his line was, it read. It read. I'm saying you can go up to 50 at plus 230, seeing that they're giving up 60 yards, 57 yards. They're also giving up a lot of receptions and receiving yards. But again, you got to be careful. He hasn't had over 3 receiving targets. So you need to kind of look at that. Like less than 4 targets a game. They don't throw him the ball a lot from what I'm seeing. Now look, it is somebody though still with 3 targets, 3 receptions, 10 yards. So with that being said, you might got some action with like a 3 target or something that you can get at plus 270. Saying that they're gonna throw him the ball. And 3 receptions, I'm sorry. Up to 10 yards, you can get at plus money from what we're seeing. You know what I'm saying? So you might have that. Even when I filtered it down, he's gotten 3 targets before and had 2 catches on those 3 targets. If 3 targets, somebody that had 3 catches. Who is this? Judkins. So just be mindful of that. Here we go. Kareem Hunt. They're giving up 69 yards rushing to the running back 2. He's averaging 27. So by both sides being green, automatically love his 25.5 today. But you can go as high as from that line without, get to playing around and seeing what you can get up to 65 yards, basically. Same over here. Receptions. Receiving yards, 12 yards. He's averaging 8 yards receiving. They're giving up 12 yards receiving. So I like that 7 yards receiving line. Now here we go. This 81. I love when I see this. 81 rushing plus receiving. His line is 36.5. He had that 36.5 last week alone. But again, you got that wiggle room. Which I don't see a lot of alt lines. I felt like I've seen alt lines somewhere. I'm gonna have to look. But if I gotta take one, and I got to pick between rushing plus receiving. Go ahead and just combine both them bitches and give me that rush plus receiving. So I like Kareem Hunt rush plus receiving line today. Xavier Worthy. Now, I'm only seeing 1 week, so I guess he been hurt and I guess going to come back. You can swap. I don't know who the hell else would be here. So, but if he's playing, pay attention, y'all. They giving up a lot of action to that wide receiver 1. They giving up 9 targets, 6 receptions to that spot, and 80 yards receiving. I don't know what his limitations is or what's what with just that week 1. So I'm gonna be very careful that again, it's too many players, too many games. I'm gonna just fade that. I'd rather be more safe than sorry because I don't have the action I want to know. Right? Marquise Brown. Line is 38.5 receiving yards. I like that line. Why? He's averaging more. They're allowing more. It's just that simple. He's averaging more. They're allowing more. That's all I care about. Now, another thing you can look at too is look at his targets. 16, 5, and 6. So guess what I want to do? I want to kind of remove this 3 because he's more used than this player is. So if I say go more than 4 receptions because he haven't had, targets, because he ain't had less than 5. Okay, still, right. I got over the average of his line. He averages over the average. So Marquise Brown receiving yards today at 38.5. I like that line. Is it enough for me to go up into the alts? No. And it ain't got nothing to do with him. I want the defense to be bright green. That's when I know I got the alt line potential. Right? Here's another one like this Tyquan Thornton. He's averaging 3 receptions. They're allowing 2 receptions. And then to be honest, he hasn't had less than, again, 4 targets. So if you say that, that's really going to do this. That's going to just leave you with 1 player. He's up in this range. Look, this person, 9 targets. He had 9 targets last week. You got to eliminate the bullshit. So now, man, I'm telling you, bro, you got some action going on with this dude's ladder. Don't get surprised by sneaky. You also got, look, the 23.5, love that. 57.64. You got a lot of action going up in here. All the way up to 60. So between his line at 22.5 to 60, right here, look at all of these alt lines you can play with based on what this defense is allowing. Another one, Travis Kelce, 40 yards is his line. He's averaging 45. They're giving up 43. Both sides green, which means that he's averaging more. They're allowing more on average. So these are lines that you can look at to play straights. Don't forget your straights, or you could parlay. Noah Gray, they're giving up 2 receptions and 20 yards to him. Again, look, 156. On average, he's getting 4 targets. So for me, take off this 0. At least say 1 target. He hasn't had 1 game where he didn't get a target. So don't show me nothing with a 0. And then look at how that changes everything. 3 receptions with 30 yards. So not only do I like your 15.5, I can go all the way up in here in like this 25 range at 195. This is what they're allowing to the tight end 2 spot. My Green Bay Packers and the Cowboys. Sunday Night Football. And then it's the last game because I'll do Monday. Oh, we got 2 Monday nights? I'll do these 2 games tomorrow on stream. So, last but not least, let's get in here and let's see what we can find. First and foremost, first thing we see, Dallas defense is getting cooked by the pass, right? By the pass. They're giving up a even 300 yards passing to the quarterback. We see that he was 8 yards away from that. So, I'm not worried about that. That's 235. But guess what? You got potential to do this. You can get the plan with these numbers and go all the way up to damn near that 300. That 300 is what they're allowing at plus 422. You want to give yourself some wiggle room? Okay. Give me the like 275 at 225 range, right? That's something that we've seen he's done before. And that's also something that we've seen that is still under the average that they've given up multiple times. So you paying attention to that part about of it. Also over here, rushing yards. He's averaging 11 yards rushing. His line is 6.5. They're giving up 32 yards rushing. If you want to do it this way, we can do this. Look, 3-3-4 rush attempts. So guess what? I don't want to veer away from my average. This 14. You can go ahead and eliminate that 14. So filter rush attempts, give me less than 5 rush attempts. He ain't got none over 5. Guess what? Still beats that 6.5. It's still green on both sides. So you can go Jordan Love passing yards up to 270, up to 300, or just take his line to be safer. Or you can go his rushing yards, which is 6.5 at minus 105 on ESPN bets. He's averaging more than that. He's covered that the last 2 games, and they're giving up more than that to anybody who has more than 3 rush attempts. Right? So, Josh Jacobs. Where are we seeing these bright green spots from the defense allowed? So, first and foremost, we're seeing it from receiving yards. They're giving up 28 receiving yards to the running back 1. Now, he's averaging 16. So 14.5 is a good number. That's a good spot for you. They're giving up 4 targets. On average, he's getting 3 targets. So again, he does get the ball passed to him. Last game against the Browns, he had 9 targets with 5 receptions. So that 27.5 they're allowing receiving yards. His 16, he's averaging 14.5 for Josh Jacobs receiving yards. Look like a good line that you could put as a straight, or you could add with some other things as a parlay. Matthew Golden. We all have been waiting on Matthew Golden's first touchdown. This might be the game that he goes and get it. They're averaging Dallas defense to the wide receiver 1. They're giving up a touchdown per game on average. You can see here, 1 per game. 2 weeks ago, 1 last week. So that's 3 over 3 weeks to the wide receiver 1. Not only that, they're giving up 5 catches with 81 yards receiving. Now, you can go about this a few ways. His targets has been less than 5. So if you want to, before you make that read, you can go strictly off of this without no filtering. Or you can say, I need this 13. That neighbor's out of body, that got to come out of there. That's 13 targets. So you might want to come less than that and just say like less than like 6, whatever. Anything less to get that out the equation. Hold on, what was the other one? 7. So let's just say less than 7. Or 8, it would be. So to keep it here. Now, how does that look to you now? That touchdown don't look the same, the receptions or the receiving yards. But if you don't care about that and you want to just go off strictly what they've done, that's this. You can go up, you could take any of his lines, and you can even go as high as up to 80 yards receiving. I mean, shit, he just had 50 last week, based on basically what that defense is allowing. Here's another spot. Romeo Doubs. He had a homer in week 2. They've given up a homer to that slot spot the last 2 weeks. And you can get him at plus money at damn near plus 200. They're also giving up 74 yards receiving. His line is 40.5. So not only do I like the 40.5, I'm willing to, again, I'm up in here with it where I'm not going to take 75. I don't care if it's 1 yard. That's always just been a rule of thumb of mine. I'm stopping at just 65. And I don't need to go no further, or 60, 65. I got that plus 2 and some change range, right? I'm seeing that, you know what I'm saying? From his targets, his shares, and things of that nature. Again, who is this one? Robinson. They went out there and went crazy. So Dallas defense into the 1 and the 2. Let me see something. Like, look at this, y'all. To all receivers, the 30-second spot. So that's telling you they are the worst team so far this season in the league in receiving yards to receivers. They are the second worst to receiving yards per reception. So 17 yards per catch. They're second to last in receiving yards to receivers. And then again, you can always just look at, okay, if I just want to look at for Doubs, third worst receiving yards to the wide receivers 2 spot. To 1, if I just want to look at the wide receiver 1, they're giving up the second most touchdowns to Matthew Golden, right? At the 31st ranked. 26, that's 7th most receiving yards. But if you just look at all, they're getting fucking fried. So take that with a grain of salt too, though. Receivers are getting fried. And that kind of makes sense why we see that they're giving up 300 passing yards a game to quarterbacks. Receivers is out there cooking their cornerbacks. Look, we down to wide receiver 3. A whopping another one. And let's look in here. Let's see. Splits, wide receiver 3. They give up the most in the league receiving yards to the wide receiver 3. Second most receiving yards per catch. So again, all the wide receivers, wide receiver 1, 2, 3 individually, they're getting smoked. His line is 40.5, which we see he has done once. They're giving up 57 yards. 57 yards receiving. So again, hey, from the receivers to the quarterback, Dallas defense as far as passing, ain't it? Tucker Kraft. I like this 3.5 yards. Receptions. 3.5 receptions. He's averaging 4. They're allowing 4. And you can get that 4 at minus 131, a nice little parlay piece. Call it a day. We move to Dallas side. Just want to make sure. I'm just identifying bright green spots. Where is it? Okay, receiving yards. Wide receiver 2. He just had a 12-yard reception, or 12 yards receiving. I'm sorry. Last game. They are giving up 10. So if you want, you can look in here and you can look up to 10 without going over 10, or just take the 5.5. The receptions are there. Look, he averaging 2 receptions. They're giving up 3 receptions. You can get 2 receptions at plus 145. So you can get that as a plus money straight or a parlay piece. For Miles Sanders, 2 receptions today. Jalen Tolbert, they're giving up 5 receptions to the slot receiver. His line is 3. Again, you can go up and just look 4 190. The 5 that they're allowing is plus 330. He get the targets. He averaging 4 targets a game. He had 6 targets last week, so it's not like they don't use him. Right? So you can utilize that when you see these super weaknesses on these teams. So you can look at this Jalen Tolbert to go over or at least hit his reception line today at 2.5. But they're giving up 5 to that slot. Here go another line, Jake Ferguson. He's averaging 61. They're giving up 56. His line is 51. And the thing you got to look at is the lowest he's had is 6 targets. So if you filter this and say, show me more than 6 targets, look at that. Now we in another area, 61, 71. He's a high target. He uses his tight end. He throwing his tight end the ball. He got high, I'm going to just say usage. That's what share is. High all that, right? High targets, high catches. So eliminate a person who out there getting 4 targets. He's not going to get used the same as him. Never, period. So eliminate that and just show me high target players. His lowest is 6, so only show me over 6. Those type of players who get 6 or more targets, 80 yards, 64 yards, which bring the average to 72. So now we got a 72 and a 61, which make me love Jake Ferguson's tight end line at 51.5 at plus money on Novid. He don't got the same. Now look, again, they are giving up 16 yards, but again, if you look at the targets, his targets is 1, 2, 1. So don't show me nobody with over 3 targets that's in this tight end 2 spot. And all you get is that one person with a 3.5. I mean, he had one last week for 5. So I mean, I'll be scared of them 2.5s. And that's that. So that is your slate today. I hope you took your notes. Again, you can always rewind and look over whatever it is you need to see. I feel like I explained it pretty well. I know the OGs understand it more. They've been on here with me before. For those who don't, by any and all means, message me in the comments. Add any questions. But basically, you can see where I'm going with that. I'm just looking at bad defenses. You know, the worse the defense is, the brighter the green. And I'm going to, on Stream Tomorrow, I'll do Monday Night Football. We'll do that on Prop Finder. This is just easier for me because I know this platform like the back of my hand when it comes to NBA and NFL. But again, love y'all, man. Let's make some money. Play your straights. Round robin your parlays. May the night be the best gambling night of your gambling life. See y'all in the morning on Twitch.